Hey everyone, this is Scott with Leading Edge Archery. Welcome to episode number 2, correct?
Numero dos.
Numero dos for, actually, you know what? We're not saying that because we might have to edit that out.
Yeah.
We might be banking it for later, but hey. We got a good guest coming on later today, so we're going to go ahead and talk about some other stuff before that and kind of get an episode for maybe later in release, but talk about really the state of affairs in archery today. And I'm talking everything from the top to bottom and east to west, north to south. Kind of like manufacturers. There's a lot of questions. I've been looking at all this stuff coming out on social media about Hoyt, actually, for example, today. And just kind of talk about where the manufacturers are from our standpoint, what it looks like. This may not be a popular topic with some of them, but I think it needs to be talked about because probably since I've been in this industry, and it's been over, 20 some years, I've never seen it like this. And Bridger, you were looking at it from a target perspective, professional perspective on the other side. I mean,
it's the same thing. Like, as far as, the biggest thing for us as a store is lead times and that sort of stuff with different products and manufacturers being able to get raw materials to build stuff, and then how long it's going to take them to build that stuff once they get it too. Right. So we've got a lot of manufacturers that are, 6-8 plus months out.
Yeah,
on product. So
I don't know if it was true, but I know. So, we can kind of jump right in. And Hoyt released a video and an apology post on Instagram and Facebook. And there were some comments in this section that I think there were retailers. And I know one guy specifically said that, he was not getting a bow until January. That's unprecedented. That's 6 months.
Great.
No, it's more than 6 months. Yeah, it's 9. That's just mind-boggling to me. We're lucky. We're a pretty big store, really big Hoyt dealer. We've got some bows. I think we've got probably 12 in right now in stock, and they're shipping every day to us. But man, those guys out there, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, but you also dropped your order well ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. November timeframe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. We can talk a little bit about that. Maybe go down a rabbit hole on the sight unseen ordering.
Well, it's just funny because we sell enough that we know we're gonna end up ordering enough, so we put in a decent sized order. But if you're a smaller shop and you only have, you get your preview pack to see what the bows are, to see what your customer reaction is, and then you put your order in. Those guys are the ones that are SOL right now.
Yeah.
Not being able to get anything.
Just for you folks, I don't think it's a big deal to share this, but we have to place orders before we see the bows.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sight unseen preview pack. And most of the manufacturers operate this way, where we go in and just place an order for what we think's coming out. Kind of have to guess on whether it's going to be a hot item or not based off the limited information that we have. And usually it's nothing. And you're just rolling the dice, whether it works or not.
People might like the bow. People might hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
If they hate it, you're stuck.
You are screwed. So it's a weird industry from that standpoint. And we got lucky. We just took a chance and we bought a crap ton in November. A bunch. I think we bought as many as we were allowed to order.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Won't go over the numbers, but it was a lot. And I think because of that and the popularity of the bow this year with supply chain and everything and all the manufacturing is a perfect storm of problems. It's crazy.
Well, you throw in all the lockdowns and everybody not having anything to do.
Well,
so order a bow, and then your kid wants a bow, and then his friend wants a bow, and then his dad wants a bow, and it's just an avalanche of
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you look at, we were talking about a little bit about this a minute ago, but I just looked on Instagram and seen the guys filling up totes and 5-gallon trash cans.
Oh, the gasoline.
Are you kidding me? Seriously, I looked at that and just thought people literally are the dumbest. We got to be right now the dumbest race of human beings that's ever inhabited the planet.
All I can think of is the dodo. That's what we're acting like right now. Dodos.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. At least they're putting it in containers. I saw a couple pictures of people putting it in like triple bagging trash bags and putting it in their trunk.
The one, the garbage bag, or clear garbage bags full of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In
the trunk of the car.
For real, that is unbelievable.
Bridger, you weren't here yet, but back in 2017 when Harvey hit,
I'm sure.
I remember I was
down here.
Yeah, I was doing something and my cousin called me. He's like, "Hey man, you better top off your vehicles." This is like 1:00 in the afternoon. It's like, "What are you talking about?" said, yeah, apparently there's going to be a gas shortage or something. Of course, me being me, I left it for the last minute. When I was driving home, there's a gas station by the house, and there was a line probably about 1.5 miles long of cars going into that one little gas station. And there was a guy on the side of the road. He had this big old truck with a bunch of the little red 5-gallon containers.
Yeah.
He was selling them for $80 a pop.
And probably selling them like crazy.
No. Just the containers were being sold for $80.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember driving around with my mom that night. Courtney was in Canada on vacation, and we drove around. And it must have been till like 3 a.m. And I finally found a gas station in the back of one of the Air Force bases on the south side.
Wow.
I was able to top off, and then I drove home and stayed home for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Well, we had it just a couple months ago when we had that freeze and snowstorm down here.
Oh yeah.
When Cody, one of our employees, went out to look for diesel fuel for our little shop heater, like all the gas stations, all of them were out of fuel.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're such a reactionary society now. It's craziness.
Well, the funny thing is that gas shortage in 17 was caused by social media.
Yeah.
There was no real gas shortage.
Yeah, and that's what it is today. Let's be honest. It's
people freaking out, and then that homeboy that had 6 55-gallon drums with the gas in the bed of his truck.
I mean, that truck, you got to imagine 55 gallons of that, 6 of them. You know how much? I don't think that truck could have moved. It looked like a half ton.
I mean, it would have moved. It just would have been awful heavy.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, you're not going to burn through that much gas.
No. Well, and what's funny, so you take that situation, though, and you compound it with everything else that's going on in this industry. And that just archery.
Yeah.
And now you look at all industries. I mean, we've heard through customers that have businesses in other outdoor recreational sports that
we're not the only ones.
We're not the only ones.
No.
And it's just unbelievable.
You remember I was getting into gun building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I talked to the dealer that I used to work with on Monday, and he said that they're filling orders from July of last year because they can get certain parts, but like a stripped upper, barrels, and what do you say, bolt carrier groups.
Yeah,
can't find them.
Yeah,
can't find them, and all the parts that were coming from overseas are on hold, they're on back order, and everything that's American made. One, it's out of stock, and two, you're adding like a $60 to $80 price increase on it.
Well, it's funny you say that. The scary part is what's this going to do for inflation?
Oh, it's going to be nuts.
Our price is going to go through the ceiling because we've already heard that interest rates on homes are starting to creep up now.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to give to correct the market, and it's either got to be a decrease in demand because I don't think supply chain is getting any better.
Correct.
And then if you look at everything going on in the world today, I mean, there's so much chaos going on.
Yeah.
I think that's going to help hinder supply chain even more. Because we got a ton of parts in our industry that come from overseas.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a reality.
Well, that's small manufacturing.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And it's to the point now. I think there's only probably 3 or 4 steel manufacturers left in the United States that are actually operational, and they're probably peaked out, maxed out for the next 24 months for all you know. It's crazy, but once again, Hoyt is just so far. I feel bad for them, and I don't want to make this about Hoyt because they're not the only ones. But the rumor is like with Matthews, I think I've heard that they're pushed out till September, October right now for bows that are ordered today. So don't quote me on that, but that's what I'm hearing amongst the other retailers or friends of ours that work in this industry. We've been doing a State of the Union address for archery for our customers on our Facebook and Instagram page, and every 2 weeks. And as of last week, I know Prime was at, I think, 12 to 14 weeks now. I think they've backed up.
Yeah.
Their demand's getting bigger. And that's what's crazy right now. Typically, this is the summer months where everything starts to slow down.
It slows down a little bit, and everybody kind of catches up and gets a second to breathe and get all their stuff, all their poop in a group before bow release time and hunting season.
Yeah. And that's not really happening now.
Yeah, it's been every bit. I mean, we're slower than what we were,
Christmas time,
hunting season to Christmas time. But compared to, I mean, I guess I can't even really compare it to this time last year.
Prior?
But
it's up.
This time, in years past, is normally a slower time of year.
Right.
And we are a little slower, but not nearly as slow as we normally are.
No, and it's just crazy because I just don't think the manufacturer going to get a lull in business to get caught up during these next 2 to 3 months. And if it sustains itself, this is going to be critical for retailers, especially in how we order and whether we have inventory or not come the fall and Christmas time. Because, I made a suggestion. If it was me, I'd gamble and not release a new bow next year. I don't think the industry can handle it right now. And I don't know how they're going to do it if they decide to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm a CEO of a large manufacturer at this point in time, I'm going to step back and hit the pause button first. Yeah, because here's the thing. You can look at Hoyt. Hoyt's got a really hot bow, and we keep going back to them. But their bow, they changed a lot of things on it, so it's a really hot bow right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have a lot of ticked off customers, I think, third quarter of this year, going into second, third quarter. Why would you not want to just get that customer base satisfied, get them happy, and then wait and re-release again in 2022 when you're current? Because if you take a risk and re-release a new bow and you never get caught up on last year's, which would be this year's, you're just exasperating the problem.
Well, I'd be pretty pissed off if I ordered a bow.
Yeah,
it's still on hold, and then a new one comes out, and I never got to shoot the other one that I ordered.
And that is what I think might happen. And then you may not get a chance to recover that customer back to your neck of the woods from a loyalty standpoint. Yeah,
cancel my order, go find something else.
Customers are fickle. Yeah. They are, and I mean in a bad way, but it takes about in our industry and corporate world. When I was a director for a lot of big companies, I always used to tell our salespeople, it literally takes years to build a customer. To have a loyal customer, it takes years.
Mm-hmm.
It literally takes seconds to lose that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, we used to have customers just tell us go pack sand and off one little thing,
mm-hmm.
And then after it took us a year and a half to get our foot in the door and get that guy's loyalty. And archery, I see, is no different.
Yeah,
this is the Ford, Chrysler, Chevy industry. These guys are loyal to a fault, but I can see them this year making some major changes and jumping ship based off supply chain. We talked a little bit about,
and it's not just that; it's going to hurt the dealers in the shops too.
Oh, it's killer.
If you don't carry what they want, they're going to go find someone else and find someone else.
And I get a lot of heat from manufacturers, and I won't name who, but because we don't single source. A lot of the manufacturers think we have too many offerings because we offer 5 manufacturers. That ends up being a blessing for us because I know some shops that are single sourced or maybe just 2 and right now don't have product to sell.
Yeah.
That's a problem. I mean, I just don't see I understand when you single source or just have 2 manufacturers, you can buy more effectively, your product offerings meant less for your customers. But in today's world, if you only had the 1 or 2,
what happens when you run out?
What happens when you run out? They're not going to be able to resupply you, and I think you're going to see a lot of shops, unfortunately, close this year.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make it. I mean, the buying decisions are going to be paramount. I mean, because it's going to be the haves and the have-nots, like you said it a minute ago.
Yeah,
you may not have nothing to sell.
Yeah, the demand is there to make all the money in the world, but I don't have anything to sell them. It's hard to make any money.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to take a 100% down payment on a bow they're not going to see for 6-8 months.
It's funny you say. I seen a guy yesterday. He's got a Hoyt on order and he put $1,000 down on it in December. His bow's still not here. I mean, that's a long time, for us to hold his money. Good for us, kind of, but yeah, for the customer, I sat there and seen it and was like, my God, the guy can't be real happy right now.
I mean, after this weekend, I might have a bow for sale.
Yeah, your bow's worth a lot of money right now.
Right?
It's funny you say that. I was looking in the showroom, and we actually have a True Ball Excel Achieve XP sight.
Really?
That thing's worth a fortune right now.
Oh, actually, you have like 3 sitting in the glass case on the front.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I seen it. I probably have more than any other company out there right now. If you need one, call me.
You might be sitting on a gold mine.
Exactly.
No True Ball's another one. I know what I have.
Comes with 5 free rounds of 9mm.
Yeah.
But you look at that's the thing. You even look at the manufacturers on the accessory side. I was talking to True Ball. They can't even tell you anything.
I wanted to order a landslide sight last week. I was told it would ship in about 3 months.
See, and that's just weird. So True Ball just came out with this big suite of new sights. A month ago, I think?
A couple months.
Why? they've got back orders on their current product offering. I know for a fact, 90 to 120 days out. Why would you front load yourself with more stuff that people are going to want when you can't get caught up on the legacy?
I know that
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I know that they are taking stuff to tournaments and stuff like that, like their travel trailers.
Yeah, they're showing it off. No. To sell?
Yeah.
Come on. Well, God, let's just go to the shoots and just buy everything.
Just buy it all.
Buy it all.
It works.
I mean, seriously, you can't get it right now.
Yeah.
Heck, Lancaster doesn't have it. None.
Well, whatever Lancaster gets, it's already pre-sold.
Yeah, I believe.
So, and I think it's not necessarily the manufacturer's fault. I think everybody's just into this sport now. So everybody's ordering. And honestly, I don't know, in my opinion, I think that one of the big things that is hurting is that whole pre-order pay now, because you'll never get caught up.
No.
More and more people are going to order versus if it's just out of stock, it's out of stock. You can't order. Yeah. People get caught up, then they offer it. But
and I heard like PSE is moving their production facility.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, from what I heard, they're just getting a bigger building in the same city, though.
Either way, you're going to try to transition a business in today's market, in today's world. And that, I think it has to do with them being at their long 12, 15-week lead time they're currently at. It's
going to put them 6 months back.
Oh,
they could build twice as many bows in the same amount of time, though.
That's true. It will be a good move, but what happens in an interim while they're trying to make that transitional move? I mean, you remember when Scott did it.
Yeah.
They moved Scott and Slick Trick, I think it was, to New York. That was a fiasco. I mean, I know one retailer that kind of dropped him after that because, they were, definitely over committing, underproducing big time. And that was not their fault. It was just the nature of them trying to move a business from Kentucky to New York.
Yeah.
That's
the same thing happened when, and it happens all the time in multiple different industries when moves like that happen. I mean, it was the same thing a few years ago when after Faradyne purchased Eastman Outdoors with Carbon Express and whatever other brands they had, mainly Carbon Express.
You know what's funny though? It's weird to see these companies they're big. These are big businesses for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say it because I came out of big corporate America. They are so poorly run from the top down. It's scary. I'm just going to say it. I mean, they're going to get mad at me. Don't care because it's an issue. I mean, I sit there and look. I mean, I was a supply chain specialist working from an engineering perspective, and it's mind-boggling how this industry does things. I think they're so stuck in their ways from over 20 and 30 years of doing things the way they always have.
Yeah.
They don't, there's no innovation. There's no growth. There's a couple of them that do a really good job of it, but for the most part, it's just scary to see how some of the decisions that are made. Heck, look at us. We are coming upon our lease ending, and Philip and I have talked about it and decided we're probably going to have to stay where we are for another 2 years. Because think about it. If we go and try to buy land, and dirt's expensive right now. Yeah. And then you try to build your own facility. Building costs are up like 75% right now.
Yeah.
Lumber is up almost 600%.
So I was talking to one of our staff shooters, Victor, and he's a builder.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling us that he bid a house last year for a customer that I think it had like $40,000 in building materials cost. Well, the customer called back and wants to start now. He had to go back and rebid it, and it was $120,000.
Yeah.
And that bid is only good for 7 days. That customer's got to make a decision within a 7-day window, or he's got to go back to the building material company to get a new bid because things are moving by the week, not by the month or year or whatever. So we thought, if we go in and build now, we're going to build at a premium. And then if the market corrects itself, it goes back down to, we're going to be upside down for probably forever.
Have a $4 million building that's worth about $800,000.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we decided, this is not a good time. Let's just push the pause button.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't see companies doing that in our industry, like with PSE moving and stuff. And I just think it's a crazy poor timing and concentrate on your core business was getting your customers satisfied, get your stuff out there in the marketplace as quickly as possible. Elite Archery, the outdoor group, right now is the best positioned archery company, I think, out there. from our standpoint.
From bow manufacturer, for sure.
For bow manufacturer, no, even sites and releases. Sites are running right now about 7 to 12 days. I think Blake told me. Their releases are about 2 weeks. I mean, they're sitting in a really good position because I can tell you all the other high-end site manufacturers, and not to name any names, they're 4 to 6 months. They're way out there. So I have told, it's not a secret, I told our rep, you need to get on the phone. You need to call everybody. Because I know some companies that went out and bought, what we call the second tier sites and releases because they're in stock.
Yeah.
And so, not keeping your customer base in that high end category. I mean, it's going to be, like you said, Bridger, the haves and the have nots. It's crazy out there right now because that's, so, we've told all of our customers, we'll tell you guys listening, better get in there and get it. Because come August, it may not be there.
Yeah.
I mean, because
everybody that's gearing up for hunting season, now's the time.
Now's the time. You better get in there. Even arrows. I know you were having trouble getting, you're a staff shooter for Easton on the pro staff, and you can't even get arrows to go compete with. Heck, we ordered him arrows from, called in a favor with Mick, I think it was.
Well, luckily, Steve, I got a hold of Steve. He's got like a little side stash.
He's
got a side stash, but...
Yeah, I got lucky and ordered all mine in January.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, with the uptick in popularity archery, because everybody's staying home, something to do, and then the downtick in the supply chain makes it. I mean,
it's a perfect storm.
Gun enthusiasts coming over to archery is a big one. Right now. Had a guy come in yesterday. We're getting at least 1 or 2 guys a day. I love shooting my gun, but I can't get ammo.
Yep.
This guy came in yesterday. That's the guy I was telling you about he's a service guy and he is a reloader.
Yeah.
Can't get reloading supplies.
No, you can get everything minus primers.
Yeah. That's what he said.
And if you get them,
makes it go bang.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like having a bow without a string.
Exactly. Well, and it's crazy because even I think our Bridger makes strings for us a lot and our string business is up big time.
Well, yeah, you can't get a bow. It's easy, just put a new string on it and help, bring it back to life a little bit.
Refurbish your bow. We're seeing a lot of that right now because guys can't get bows. Some of them, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
The other thing is maybe the used bow section is actually going to get swept up.
You know what's weird is our used bow section got just decimated during Christmas, of course. But it's went crazy. Like we've got a lot of good used bows on the shelf right now. And it's weird because they're not moving as much. I'm seeing at least more guys wanting to buy the new stuff
than the old stuff.
We stopped taking bows in that were older than 5 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate to say it, we're
so many guys coming in wanting to trade up.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a wall full of those already.
Oh, yeah, we're loaded. And then the other thing is we're kind of, I hate to say it, but we're really lowballing. I mean, if you're going to want to trade it in, not have to deal with it as far as the shipping and the ads and stuff like that, we're going to try to make a premium on that equipment because we just don't need it.
Yeah.
Honestly. That's what's crazy. Because I had the other day Toyota dealership and they wanted to buy my truck so bad it was unbelievable.
Really?
Dude, they are like, that's another thing. Automobiles.
Yeah. One of our customers, Lee, he owns a used car lot down in San Antonio. And he said, like, dude, if you, I'll give you damn near sticker price for your truck vehicle, with 200,000 miles.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm still in my truck.
Dude, your truck is worth a fortune.
Yeah.
Because your Toyota's nice. I mean, it's
only got 30,000 miles on it.
Oh, yeah.
You might be able to get more than what you paid for it.
Exactly.
Anybody out there that's listening, 2016 TRD.
Exactly.
Longhorn orange.
And Longhorn orange. Yeah. So it's, like I said, it's not just us. It's every industry out there right now. And we had a guy also, he's a boat manufacturer and they're delivering boats now that were ordered last June. They're delivering them now with almost a year out. He said they're like us. They can't get caught up. There's nothing they can do. It's unbelievable.
How long do you think this is going to go on for?
It's funny you asked that. I have been kind of talking to a lot of manufacturers reps about this very subject because I'm trying to get as much information as I can to help us make really good buying decisions this fall or this summer. And everyone is kind of saying spring of next year, 2022, end of first quarter. They think there's going to be a pause in the supply chain, or a pause in the
ordering in
the industry. Yeah, they think it's gonna. I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't know what they're using to understand that. Maybe they think COVID is going to be gone permanently.
Well, and this stuff happens like in every industry at some point or another. So I'm sure they can look at data and trends and everything and see where it's at. Because I remember, God, I'm trying to think, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago when I was working at Shields in Des Moines. Like bows were 8, 12, 16 weeks back. And, a year and a half later, it was all back to normal to where you'd order a bow and it'd show up 4 days later.
Right.
So.
I don't remember that. Well, we weren't open then, I don't think.
It would have been like right when you opened. Or right before you opened. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. So that's what's weird. We don't know. I think it's going to be a guess. Maybe they have some information on manufacturing, like with steel.
Yeah.
The metals market, I think, drives this whole thing. Metals and petroleum. And, if you look at petroleum right now, it's saying, no, it's not going to recover. Metal is becoming harder and harder to get. It's being used more and more by every industry out there.
Yeah.
It's just going to be weird, because we're going to have to play a chess match to make sure we have inventory or don't get stuck with inventory, because that's one of the big things. Like, do we order stuff for the fall
and then get stuck with it?
Because imagine if we order it now, we don't get it until November, December. And it takes 60, 90 days to turn that inventory roughly on a good year for Christmas time.
Yeah.
How much do you have in January when all the new stuff, 2022 stuff, starts rolling out? And that's going to be the chess match. I think that is going to be the guys who get it right are going to hit a home run. During COVID, everything shut down, and I'll never forget, I was sitting there with Philip and Heck Bridger. We were talking about, what do we do? And we decided to kind of put a pause on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I called a good friend of mine who owns a shop in Corpus, and, what are you doing? I'm buying everything I got. And I looked at him and told him, I says, you're doing what? And he literally called Matthews and bought every bow that they had in inventory. And he was smart because he sold every single one.
I remember him sending pictures of us. It was looking like 6 pallets of bows.
Oh, yeah.
Pulled up on a semi-trailer in his store.
Yeah.
And gone.
He's a gambler, though.
Yeah,
he's a wild man, and he gambled, but he gambled right because he hit it out of the park. I know he had a monster year last year because of that.
I guess it all depends on the area too.
Yeah.
You gotta take that into consideration.
It's true. Yeah,
who's around you, what's going on.
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder how the big stores are doing. If you guys are having a hard time, or the big stores having the same thing with the smaller manufacturers.
So, I recently got back into fishing a little bit, bass fishing, and I went to Bass Pro.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing on the shelf.
Really?
I mean, they have stuff, but there's also empty peg hooks everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, so they're moving a lot of product.
Or just not restocking.
Yeah, it could be one of the two. I don't know where the industry sits, but either way, there's a lot of holes.
Yeah.
Typically, Bass Pro, as big as they are, they've got everything. And to see them out of certain things a lot is kind of weird. And of course, if they're like us, a lot of that industry is driven by China, overseas manufacturing, hooks, sinkers, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll give you an example. It is unbelievable. They have a gondola, and you imagine how big a sinker is. They're small. So the packaging's tiny. Tungsten sinkers, there's none. I'm talking none. And this is the most common, easiest thing in the world to carry inventory wise.
Normally they probably have about 4,000 of them on hand at a time.
At least. There's not one. And even when we go fishing now, we'll stop at the local tackle store and stuff, and there'll be none in that little tackle store, because I think everybody's trying to find stuff everywhere they can. So yeah, they're trying to find parts and pieces everywhere, just like we are in this industry, at least in the fishing industry, it looks like, because just shocked at how much stuff is not available.
I start melting my own aluminum and making my own sinkers and stuff.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I got a friend of ours that's going to start his own fishing company, tackle supply, rods and reels, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, because with the supply, I mean, it's got to be scary starting a business in an industry because you think you can do it better than what they're doing. Heck, I thought about it.
Yeah.
But if I can't get stuff either, what's
what
the
materials
point?
are you going to use?
Yeah.
Hey man, let's just duct tape a bunch of arrows together and make a fishing rod.
Yeah. I mean, you've got plenty of broken arrows.
Exactly.
Might as well. Because I mean, if you're going to try and make a fishing rod out of carbon, good luck getting carbon.
Take one of them 1100 Intrepids in there. That'll work it. Good fast action tip.
That's right, dude. That would be.
Take a couple of those 2315s.
Yeah, put that on the back.
Put it
on your handle.
That's hilarious.
I'm going to go home and build one.
Yeah. We'll switch gears a little bit because we're going to kind of talk about everything, but let's go into hunting.
Oof.
So that's a whole another one that is like seeing unprecedented growth right now. It's kind of weird because you hear a lot of people on social media, and I won't name names, but the hunting industry is getting killed. There's less hunters ever. There's, no one's buying hunting and fishing license anymore. The states are hurting.
No, they're not.
I'm not seeing that. I know for a fact, elk hunting, tag allotments this year, the average state, Western Mountain State, went up by over 60% applications alone. For the first time in Montana, for example, I think that their rate typically is 8.5 out of 10 years you're going to draw a general elk tag. This year, I think it dropped to 6 out of 10. I mean, that's the increase in tags because there were some guys that applied this year that didn't get it, and I was shocked. And I heard more guys didn't get it than I heard guys that got it.
Really?
And I've never heard that in Montana before. And I heard New Mexico was up over 60,000 applicants for their tag allotments this year. That's just unbelievable.
We'd talked about it a little bit last year, but with guys not being able to travel internationally or travel to Canada or Mexico to do different hunts, not that that's a large majority of the industry, the hunting side of it, but there's a lot of guys that may or may not have had a trip planned to, Canada or Alaska or something like that to go, elk, mule deer, moose, bear,
right,
what have you. And now they're going to some of the northern western states to do the same thing.
Right. Yeah. And it's causing this whole rift too between, the out of state guys going to hunt the in-state with the in-state hunters, and this is one thing that drives me crazy about our industry, if you want to call it. Like I always tell everybody, don't talk about you're from Texas. Matter of fact, I wish we could create a plate that did not tell us what state we're from. Because this is a true story. Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, those states, they hate Texans. I'm telling you, they hate them. I have had more guys talk crap in those 3 states when they see you're from Texas. I don't even talk about it. I mean, with them, you hope you don't run into anybody and I even know one customer I was talking with the other day, he got his tire slashed.
Really?
Just for being from Texas?
Being from Texas.
Because he had Texas plates.
So
bunch of haters.
He actually pulled in this summer to do some scouting in a unit in southern Colorado, ran into a hiker, a lady at that. The lady was giving him all kinds of crap. Go home, get the heck out of my state type thing. In the parking lot, he takes off on his hike. He comes back and he's got 2 tires slashed. Like, I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
1 + 1 = 2. Maybe not her, probably her.
That's crazy.
And that's a true story. I mean, this happened. He said this is like a month ago. He was up there scouting. And to think that we are getting that way but we shouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Look at social media. Look at everybody on the internet.
Of course.
I mean, look at what we do as a country now, how stupid we are. And that's what it's becoming. It's this meism. Get out of my state, get out of my area, get out of, and it's just the state loves the revenue generation because we as non-resident hunters probably bring in, I would guess, Bridger, 2/3 of the economy, the hunting economy is non-resident because you see it in Iowa.
I don't know about that. I know I can walk, when I lived in Iowa, I could walk in and buy a tag for $23.50
right.
or $28.50 for statewide anti-sex. And then if you're a non-resident, you're paying $485.
So my point being, if you have, and I think the non-resident is as big as the resident pool, is it not?
No, it's not even close.
Oh, it's not that big? Okay.
Not at least not in Iowa. I don't know about other states, but for Iowa, I mean, we had, I'm trying to think, probably like somewhere between 40 and 60,000 archery hunters, registered archery or archery tags sold
right,
to individual hunters. So, but I guess I don't know what the exact.
But I bet if you take those the out of state numbers times the
percentage you get is much higher.
Yeah.
Like you get a lot more per person.
Right.
with out of state. And I imagine it's that way with any state for any game animal. If you're out of state,
right?
You know, a non-resident's always going to pay more,
right?
Which
that's normal.
Should.
Yeah,
that's
they should.
Normal.
Absolutely. Well, it drives a big part of that economy too, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have to be making as much money, maybe a little bit less than their resident hunters. If you look at the per capita ratio between, you know, revenue versus hunter, it's the upside is definitely on the non-resident side.
Oh, well, yeah. They're paying. Whoever writes a bigger check always seems to get a little better treatment sometimes. But.
Yeah, unfortunately. But do you know, you're from Iowa. I mean, did you guys, Iowa gets blasted with whitetail hunters. I mean, it's one of the, I think the mecca of kings for sure. I mean, so did you guys,
not really,
because
it's, you got to be a pretty dedicated guy to A, wait 4 years, but B, wait 4 years for a whitetail.
Yeah.
So unless you're obsessed with them, there weren't a ton of non-resident guys. Now, obviously there's a lot of non-residents that come in every year.
Yeah.
But for archery season anyways, most of the guys that do it are pretty hardcore whitetail guys. Yeah. So I think like the last year I hunted there right down the road from my dad and I's lease, it was an outfitter like right to the north of us. And he had like 2 out-of-state guys come in.
Right. You know, a lot of guys question whether the outfitters are helping or hurting that. Because, you know, they're making their money from the out-of-state guys, not the in-state.
I mean,
for the most part.
I think as long as they're not dragging tags away from residents to give it to non-residents and outfitter tags, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I know there was a couple laws going through the Iowa House that were not that exactly, but were along those lines that a lot of guys weren't a big fan of. But,
you know, Montana's doing it. They're going, I think this fall they're voting on it, whether they're going to take the non-resident pool and pull 80% of them, give them to outfitters.
Mm-hmm.
So to be a non-resident hunter in the state of Montana, you got to go through an outfitter to do it.
I mean, I'm fine with that because that helps out the outfitter and
the economy.
Keeps it helps the outfitter because he's getting money. State's still getting the same amount of money. But it's also keeping the non-residents from just the guys that don't know what the hell they're doing.
Walking all over the place.
Just walking through the middle of an open
keeping
field,
everybody under control.
Everything out
Dude,
of there.
We've seen it all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. I never thought about it that way. Because at first I was thinking, okay, that's not cool. Because, you know, as an elk hunter and I know what I'm doing, I thought I don't need an outfitter, nor do I want one. But
there's a lot more people that don't know what they're doing.
I agree with that because I see them every year.
Their problem is they think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it, but here we don't see it because the state is mainly private.
It's true.
Everybody that comes to hunt in Texas is hunting at a big ranch.
With an outfitter.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
I mean, that's about the only way you can hunt here.
Yeah.
But Texas is one of the few states where you could walk into Bass Pro or Walmart or anything from any state, damn near any country, and buy
a hunting license.
Go out and kill something.
That's true.
24/7, 365.
Yeah.
So Texas is one of the few states like that, but we also have a different hunting economy because of all the exotics and the pigs and all the different types of animals we can go out and kill.
Because we've imported Africa pretty much.
Yeah, you could literally kill something every day of the year.
Correct. Yeah, it's free. It's a free for all in Texas for sure. I think the only controlled species are whitetails.
It's whitetail, mule deer, and turkeys.
Whitetail, mule deer, turkeys, and antelope.
Yeah.
Antelope up in the Panhandle.
Yep.
It's crazy. I never thought about it that way. But yeah, so yeah. Anyways, the hunting economy though as a whole, I don't see anybody who talks about hunting is going away. I think is just absolutely blown smoke.
Well, we had people coming in at the beginning of the pandemic last year that were buying bows so that they could put meat in their freezer. Because can't buy any meat in the store.
Yeah. We had a little old lady. It was a funny story. I
was just thinking about her.
She was like, God, had to be 70, 75 and brought an old Brownie Micromidas into the store and literally in the pandemic and said, hey, I want, can I get this shooting, you think, and I'm like thinking, ma'am, why are you wanting to do this, and she made a comment. She says, yeah, I got these spotted deer in my backyard. I heard they're really good to eat. And I don't know how long meat's going to be available. So I want to start killing them. They're axis deer, of course. And I was dying. I was just like this, and she was legit serious.
Yeah.
And we seen a ton of that last year. Mm-hmm. People, they were wanting to harvest their own meat because of the potential food shortages that were coming.
Well, there was. I mean, for a while, especially here in San Antonio.
Yeah, everybody was $10 for a pound of ground beef.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, I was sitting at home eating my big old water buffalo steaks.
Oh yeah, whatever.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna keep growing and growing and growing. The more this goes on, the more people are gonna want it.
Well, you're seeing this whole self-sustaining mindset coming on board. That's why I like the potential gas shortage. People are going crazy to take care of their own with the gas, and they're wanting now to, hey, I'm going to go out and kill my own stuff, so I don't have to rely on the government or food sources to feed my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to drive all that. That's why that hunting economy, once again, I just don't see that going away. And guys giving that lip service really need to be shut down. I think there's more hunters out there now than ever. I mean, I know my buddy sent me a picture of in Steamboat Springs, Colorado last year, and the normal parking lot that's got 8-10 cars in it, it's got like literally 50 to 100. I mean, he just drove by it. He wasn't even going to screw with it. But I mean, that was just one area that historically does not have that amount of people hunting. I seen more last year in Southern Colorado than I've ever seen before. Mm. I mean, it was unbelievable. And so the hunting side of it, I think, is getting big. And, a lot of that driving it to kind of switch gears a little bit is social media. I mean, everybody's got a YouTube channel on hunting now.
Yeah.
I always get a kick out of it because, we do a YouTube channel and with the podcast, and how many different ways can you kill and talk about killing a whitetail deer or an elk or a mule deer? It's just, it's unprecedented, and it drives me crazy because it's like, I don't know what angle they're getting to get audience members, and the guys that are information junkies are wanting to hear it, and they want to hear it from as many different sources as possible. I just don't want to go play in that playground. I mean, it's out there.
I guess the guys that are established are going to continue to do well, but all the new guys that are trying to come in and kind of break into the whole scene, I think those are guys that are going to struggle with their new shows, because what are you going to talk about that hasn't been talked about?
Exactly. There's one out there that I think is kind of, I'm not going to crack on them because I love the guys to death. They're backcountry rookie guys. They're awesome. Got a great podcast. I know the founder real well. He comes into the shop. But at what point are you not a rookie anymore? I've been doing it for 4 years, and he's got some incredible guests on there and stuff. But I don't know how long they can drive that format, and even the hunting side. How many times? It's kind of like fishing. Even I've been watching these fishing podcasts, and I'm already over them because you cast and reel. You throw a bait.
Yeah.
I remember when the umbrella rig came out, and that was the latest and greatest new innovation of bass fishing. And that was something different, something good to talk about. But I mean, without that, I just don't know how these guys make it on social media, but they do.
It doesn't really matter though. I mean, you haven't been struggling out there fishing. You're obviously having success.
Yeah.
So what are you going to learn from 10 different shows?
But you cannot believe the number of people, man. They guzzle that Kool-Aid. Wow.
Hey man, you look at guys like John Dudley and who else?
Cameron Haynes.
Cam Haynes. Well, guys that do a lot of the informational teaching stuff just for archery on the archery side of it.
Yeah.
John Dudley's probably written the same article about 40 different times about how to tie a D-loop.
Yeah. Right.
How to hold your release correctly for a T-handle or handheld release.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's true.
I think that's just giving it bumps, though. Honestly, you've got to refresh the content.
That's the old TTT.
Yeah,
on the forum page there.
Yeah, exactly to the top.
It just happens. You gotta refresh it every once in a while. But at the same time, the people that are out there listening to all this stuff are the ones that they'll watch one show, watch the other show, and they come into the shop, and those are the ones that you love to work with.
So, it's funny. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, Brandon, and because we were talking about business, and he's going to maybe potentially start a business, and we were giving him the ideas on how we were so successful so quick. And, you're probably going to hear it on this podcast, and I'm sitting here right now thinking of something. Do I really want to go there? Do I want to talk about this? Honestly, because I think it's about education. I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about every manufacturer we carry. Most shops won't do that. They don't want to take off the manufacturer. They don't want to, maybe take off the customer. Heck, I've even heard of couple of manufacturers that send out their scouts to come in and act like customers to hear what you say about their product. And I never say anything bad. No, I take it back. I never say anything good and bad. I mean, I always say good and bad because there's good and bad with every manufacturer. We are just honest to a fault about the stuff that they don't do well.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these bows don't do certain things very well, or talk about the education of why this doesn't matter, even though it's been shoved down their throat for decades, and we'll probably go through some of that later on in another podcast. But, I was telling him, if you educate your customer and tell them what's really not good about the product, your own product even, and tell them what is really good about it, I think that's how you retain customer loyalty. It's not,
just be honest.
Everything is not kumbaya.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've never made a perfect product.
Yeah.
It's not reality. So it's what we do, at least on our side of it. And that's it's kind of funny because I'm going to go ahead and go there. We're talking about social media, but I got a kick out of these guys. What are they called? And Bridger, you'll probably think this is funny. Whitetail Fit. Is that the guys?
Oh, yeah.
And these guys on Whitetail Fit, they are jacked. They're huge, and I just thought it's kind of like the oxymoron for me. You really don't need that. You better have one heck of a good butt, to sit and stand all day.
You definitely don't need it here.
Pies are for.
It's to build the butt. Yeah, Bridger ain't got no butt. I don't know how he does it.
Definitely don't need that here in Texas.
No.
Your whitetails sit here as
you need a swamp
twice a day.
cooler to sit all day in Texas.
Well, no, you just go and sit twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening.
Just go just a half hour before your feeder goes off.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what time it is.
Exactly.
You just wait. Once you hear, then you can go out and sit in your tree stand.
No, that's true, because you know how it is. Typically, we're out at 2 p.m. for an evening sit, and we sit till 12. We might go back in to eat lunch, and it's weird because here, 30 minutes. What time's the feeder go off?
4:30.
Feeder goes off 4:30. All right.
Okay, we'll get there like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Start walking in about 4.
I will never forget. I killed, gutted, and put in my deer in my truck in 45 minutes. Literally, that is insane. That's my first time ever, and I just thought this is unbelievable.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about your recent deer.
No. No, 45 minutes.
That deer's still in the cooler.
Yeah, he is. Not anymore. Did you notice? It was gone.
Did you throw that cooler away?
Oh, yeah, we threw it away. It's pretty bad.
Anybody wondering,
that would have been
Cody
perfect.
Cooler from HEB will not keep a deer fresh for 6 months.
Yeah.
No. That would have been perfect coyote bait.
Dude, if I
You
got
might have
near
called
it,
Bigfoot with
I
that.
immediately gagged. Like gag reflex.
Yeah, it was
right
bad.
now. I mean, it was the worst smell of death ever.
We could have done a show on how to clean a cooler.
Yeah. No, I didn't think that was possible.
I'm pretty sure you grew like next year's COVID in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was definitely some science experiments going on for sure.
But yeah, I mean.
But, on the other side of social media, though, now the fit guys that are out there, what is the trained to hunt guys?
Yeah.
Wilderness athlete, the mountain ops guys and stuff like that. Those, those guys are pretty legit because they're hunting pretty hard. The way they hunt. Western mountain hunting is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you from experience, you better be in pretty decent good shape, or not so much good shape. You better have a very strong constitution. I've taken some couple of guys who aren't in the greatest of shape, but they're some of the toughest mentally. So they work through it, but if you don't have one of those, that's mountain hunting. So I'll give them some mad props. Some of those guys, the way they're working out, what they're doing to get better and ready for the mountain is warranted, I think, and educational. I think something that everybody that has aspirations to get out there in the Mountain West and hunt it the right way, watching those guys on social media is a good thing, for sure.
People have plenty of time right now to go get in shape because they don't have a bow to shoot.
No kidding.
I'm telling you.
And then let's switch over real quick. What about target archery? So we're going to kind of go around the horn here. And target archery is, Bridger, would you say you've been, to 5 big events now in the last 2 months?
I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like it's getting more popular, but it also could be because, going to the ASAs last year, they were really the only game in town,
right,
which helped boost their popularity. But I think they had a record attendance in Paris a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I think it was 600 over.
Right around 1,700 people. Yeah. And normally they have barely 11.
11, yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Reading filled up. And I mean, granted, Reading only had half of their normal
field
allotment there. They opened up like 40 spots like the week prior, but that filled up in less than 2 hours.
I was going to say 2 hours when it was over.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it filled up super quick, which, by the way, Reading with only half the amount of people there, like Normally you finish at like 4:00 in the afternoon and shoot for 7 hours. Yeah. On the second day, we finished at 12:15.
Well, it's funny. It's
incredible.
So Bridger's girlfriend, Courtney, went to her first reading event with him and was raving about how awesome the shoot is. And I'm like, go on a normal year.
Yeah.
Wait 45 minutes
for a target. I told her, I says, there's actually food trucks in between some of the targets because the waits are so long. And of course, he didn't experience any of that. So it had to be amazing to go for sure.
It was pretty nice being able to shoot in 3.5 hours on the first day or second day.
That is mind-boggling. Yeah. Because normally half done.
A quick day we would finish at at about 3:00.
3:00, yeah. 3:30. That's crazy. And then so Vegas also was a paired downfield because only championship.
It was only championship. That one was odd too. I mean, the casino was every bit as busy. Like, I mean, it basically opened like nothing was going on, but it wasn't all archery people there. Right. Normally you're waiting in that little hallway in South Point for 45 minutes to get on the damn elevator.
Right.
Just walk right up in. It was fine.
Gotcha.
So, but it was every bit as busy as it was before, just with 500 people shooting a bow there instead of 3,000.
Exactly.
It wasn't everybody archery there.
Right.
How many of those people had new bows?
Yeah.
Very, very few.
Well, a lot of us were getting our bows in like September. So
yeah. True.
Okay, we all had.
It
depends on your definition of new.
They're the test monkeys, that get the chance to sell it all throughout the year. For sure.
I think I got my target bow in August last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. And then I ordered 2 in December and didn't get them till
March, April, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bridger, you shoot for Elite, so you got yours fairly quickly. Heck, you just got one in. You ordered.
I had my
2 weeks ago?
36, and then I got my second one. That one took probably. I mean, it was 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks. Still, that's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For a target bow in today's market. It's funny. We were just talking like Hoyt removed half their colors in their target bows, trying to decrease the amount of choices we can get and
I'm lucky
streamline their manufacturing.
I was able to get those white ones when I did.
Exactly.
Another gold mine.
Quantity right there.
Just gonna throw it out there.
So yeah, but no, target archery I think is growing. One of the issues that I have with it right now, not to be Debbie Downer, is just a stagnation of the sport as far as what's available. We go to the same venues every year. Like, I think the NFAA just announced they're going back to Louisville for the next 2 or 3 years, whatever it is. I think they would be well served to change venues every other year at least, because to give people a different look, a different place to go.
Come to San Antonio.
Yeah, but the Masters is in Augusta every year.
They just have a really good course.
In San Antonio every year.
Right.
I mean, Quail Hollow is at Quail Hollow.
Settle down,
year.
Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, no kidding. That's true, but I don't know. Yeah, I see your point.
So, I mean, they move the Super Bowl around, but it's different teams every year. Well,
that's true.
Usually different teams every
year. Yeah.
Tom Brady's always there.
Yeah.
Stop. But I mean, at least they've got that Yankton tournament going on in July again. That big national roundup.
Great.
Dude, don't get me started.
Every time I hear Yankton, hold on. Every time I hear Yankton, it reminds me of Wayne's World when he's like, Delaware. Welcome to Delaware.
Delaware. Yeah, it's about as exciting as Delaware there. Hope you like Pizza Ranch.
Somebody at one point in time had made a comment that they thought Yankton should be the bedrock or the home field of archery. Kind of like Canton is for the NFL Hall of Fame, and we needed something like that in archery, and they wanted to make it Yankton. And I got into a
heated debate
over the internet with 2 of the bigger guys in the sport because it's nuts. If you do not shoot archery, you have no clue where Yankton, South Dakota is. And even if you shoot archery, I would guess to say there's 75% of you don't know where Yankton, South Dakota is. And they actually, somebody, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to call people out, but one of the individuals, pretty smart guy. Well, we have over 2 million visitors to Yankton a year, and you don't understand our economy.
2,000 million.
I'm like,
2 million people
Dallas
drive through Yankton.
Yeah. Well, and I said, Dallas has 2 million people a day to go there to visit, not a year. I mean, and I always said that this is where we miss it in our sport. We go to these archaic, weird places because they're tied to an individual that started the organization, and we're not using straight up marketing demographic studies to increase the viability of the sport.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I won't dog them too much. The facility there is great.
Oh, I heard it's amazing.
The facility is awesome for what they have, like geographic or topography wise and stuff for their field courses. The NFA's field courses are great.
Yeah.
Everything's cut well. I mean, that facility's gigantic. They have I'm trying to think how many lanes they have. They probably have like
2,000.
They have like 60, 70 yard plus ranges.
Yeah.
Or lanes, I mean.
Yeah.
And then the bigger range you can, or actually both of them, you can shoot sideways and they can have, 600 people at a time shooting 20 yards.
But therein
but
lies
it's in the
issue.
middle of nowhere.
Well, and therein lies the issue.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
You can't
man.
house that many people. You can't fly in there economically well at all. I mean, it's a small market airport, which means it's $1,000 to fly in there on average. I mean,
so where do you normally fly into?
The closest airport, or the closest like larger airport that has bigger airlines and stuff flying into it is Sioux Falls. It's an hour away.
Yeah.
After that, then you're going to either Sioux City or Omaha. Sioux City is about Sioux City's a little over an hour.
Right.
Omaha is 2.5 hours.
But all three of those airports are the small market airports. It's got to be a fortune to fly in.
The biggest airport is Omaha, and it's still not that big of an airport.
No. And then you're talking about some insane money to get there. And then once again, how many hotels seriously are in Yankton?
If you include all the mom and pop ones, there's probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7.
Yeah, and that's not housing. And I think they're holding Worlds there next year again.
No, in September.
It's in September.
Yep.
So we were going to do that. I think 4 or 5 years ago they held it. And, you're just thinking Worlds, and I didn't know any better at the time. I thought, well, I'll just register, a couple
Indoor
months
Worlds.
before.
Yeah.
Well, I went to go register. We registered, and everything was good. Well, then I said, okay, I got to find a place to stay. Nope.
Yeah.
Forget it. I mean, it was a 2.5 hour drive to get into a hotel that I could go.
When they had Youth Worlds there, probably 4 or 5 years ago, they were busing kids over from the east side of Vermilion, which is 30 minutes.
Yeah. See, that's crazy. Because we were looking at maybe staying in one of the cabins on the lake, which are really expensive, number one.
Crazy expensive,
and for what they are, what you're getting, it's a public bathroom at that point in time. And it was, I was just blown away. And that's when I got my first foray into Yankton. I thought, this can't happen. This is not a good location to host an event that big. As beautiful as the facility is, and probably as amazing as it is, they need to take that and put that into a large market area that can accommodate, the travelers.
1,000 people.
Yeah.
Just being able to, the biggest issue there is getting there and lodging.
And lodging,
really.
yeah. Other than that, the facility is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you guys, the way they host the shoots and stuff. And then
it's tough. And
the ASA's in the same boat.
Hotel.
Yeah, ASA's in the same boat.
Paris.
How bad was Paris this year?
Dude, well, okay, there's a couple debacles with it. So, if you didn't book your hotel ahead of time, you're SOL. Yeah. I know Cassidy and Lindsay had to stay almost an hour away.
Right.
And then, what am I thinking of? Oh, the Baymont Inn there.
Oh my God.
Oh man. So the pictures from that.
I booked 4 rooms there.
Oh yeah. All 4
and
years.
I put Pete Crawford from Stan Lasky Releases in it, and he sent me pictures. Oh my God.
Dude, it was a crack hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
That one. Yeah. I'm glad that I ended up not booking a room there.
Yeah. And we were all freaked out because we thought maybe we were going to get billed for the rooms because nobody stayed. But I got pictures to send to whoever wants to talk about that because it was gross. And it was weird because it must have been COVID, just shut the whole town down to the point they had no operating capital to fix anything. And I don't know if people were staying there living in it.
Courtney had said she stayed there a few years ago and it wasn't that bad.
I stayed there numerous times and it's actually, it's a Baymont at Wyndham. It's not a bad named hotel. And, you would expect that from a Super 8 maybe.
Me and my dad have found out with all the traveling we did when I was a little kid going to archery tournaments and going fishing and stuff, that if a hotel has a number in it, the lower the number, the worse the hotel is. I remember staying at one for one of the IBO Triple Crowns in Bedford, Indiana, called the Mark III. And my dad literally had to walk out of the office because it smelled so bad.
You're kidding
when
me.
we were checking in.
Oh my god!
Because another buddy of ours we were staying with had got the room.
That's so gross.
And my dad literally walked out of the office and waited outside because it smelled so bad. And then when we literally opened the door to the room, went, oh my God, closed the door, drove straight to Walmart, bought all new bedding, towels, and like 4 bottles of Febreze and emptied them.
Well, so the whole reason for this topic was, the ASA going to these small market venues like Paris, Texas, to host an event that is outgrowing the host city. Mm-hmm. And I think even on the course, this is where it gets really bad. So I think one of the greatest things ASA has done in the last 5 years is allow a Friday option shoot time to take the burden off that Sunday, which allows everybody to get on the road early if they want to, gives ASA a heck of a lot more time to get things tore down and get back home themselves.
Yeah.
And then that got washed out on Friday because of weather. So then it front loaded all that stuff back into Sunday. And I heard the courses were unbelievably ridiculous as far as the number of shooters and some people shooting in the dark almost.
I'll still be an advocate against the 7:30 shoot time forever for the pros.
On the morning time?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Dude, if you are shooting east, if you start on the east facing side of the course, like it's damn near impossible to see because the sun's right in your eyeballs. And by the time you put an umbrella, if you get an umbrella up, which that's a whole nother host of problems. Apparently everybody hates is people shooting with umbrellas.
Oh yeah.
But
the purists
you can't, the umbrella, like you're literally looking at the sun, like behind the target.
Oh yeah.
And you can't get an umbrella on it.
And then you make a turn and come back the other way and it's behind you and the glare is absolutely horrible. But
I'd much rather be behind me because then
your targets are lighted up. Yeah, your targets are lit up for sure.
I can stand with them. I can stand with a hat and an umbrella behind me.
Exactly. No, and that's so true. And but those are the little things that I think it's logistically got to the point for ASA that they're just trying to maintain the load. Trying to logistically handle the load of people and not think about those little things that make the difference between competing and not competing at a high level.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, you guys, there's no reason on this planet that you guys should be out there at 7:30 a.m. I mean, you're professionals. Let's let you guys sleep in, get you a good night's rest, get on the course at a decent hour, like 11 o'clock, get the sun up overhead, so we don't have to deal with umbrellas for the most part. And that's one variable you can remove right away. But then you got the guys starting courses, I heard, at 4:30 in the evening, shooting into 7:30. I mean, it's getting
this year,
pretty twilight.
In Paris, they had to do that because the
rain, the weather.
Well, some of it was the weather. Some of it was the influx of competitors that they didn't really know they were going to have. They knew they were going to have a larger turnout than normal. Right. But they didn't have enough courses for how many people they ended up having.
Yeah. Right.
So I know they seem to have alleviated that problem for the
next London, 2 or 3 for London.
For London. Yeah. I know they alleviated a little bit. I know they put a big post out about it. Well, talking about it, but.
So ASA is seeing this growth because I know there's a whole group of people that we haven't seen in years that are coming over from Jason, your side of the fence, from USA.
Yeah.
Because USA, with their pared down fields on the Gator Cup and the Arizona Cup, what are they running? A third of the field they normally have?
Well, Gator, they were able to run a little bit more because Florida's open.
Okay.
Florida. But SoCal with California's restrictions, Arizona with their restrictions. And then last year, the season got pushed close to the fall. Yeah. So there was nothing to do. They started shooting ASA. I think just like me, they got converted and they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to do this. So they started doing 3D this year.
Right.
So there's a lot of going back and forth between 3D outdoor.
Yeah. There's a lot of people shooting that. And then, there's been a lot of talk about, if you win a championship, you're truly winning it because some of the guys are not there. That your typical competition. How many people actually went to Guatemala for Worlds?
For the World Cup? I mean,
for World Cup.
All the big guys were there.
Where'd they go?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they had a standard field, but they had all the protocols in place.
Gotcha.
They just put a bag over your head when you're traveling from
pretty much
from the hotel to the shoot.
Yeah, no kidding.
They put you in a bubble boy suit.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no
so
kidding.
I'm over here looking down everybody that's might be watching the show, trying to get our guest
in line
in order, and I think he's about ready.
He's almost ready. Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's we'll wrap up this side of it. I mean, I really kind of wanted to go through that whole archery experience and kind of what's going on in our industry from the hunting side to the target archery to the manufacturers. Hopefully the shops are going to make it out there this year, and kind of this overall state of the union. I know our industry as a whole is, I think, up. Don't know if it's going to be sustainable, to where it is today. But I think that the organizations, the manufacturers, and the retailers are going to have to take a hard look at where they're at today. And I think they have to change things. I mean, it's one of the big deals. I think they're going to have to make some changes to accommodate their customers, to stay relevant. Bridget, you got a good point. Yeah, the Masters is the same place every year. But gosh, sometimes I hate going to Paris and Foley and Metropolis, and it's the same courses. It really is. I mean, there's no parity, and to your point, yeah, golf has not changed at all in what, 40 years, 50 years as a sport. And I think that's got a lot to do with maybe the challenge of golf and how hard it is. I mean, it's hard enough just to swing a club. I suck.
There's a lot of people that suck at archery. To be fair,
This is true. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. Like I've always said it, if I had the money, gosh, God willing, I would love to start our own circuit. Because like OPA is a good one, a good example of how I think they're going to be the new up and comer. And a lot of people talk about tax. One thing I wanted to touch base on real quick, Total Archery Challenge. We just got done working that event here in San Antonio. What was it?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 1,700 archers, I think it was. All with a common goal. There was more camo at that event than I've seen in my entire life. And it's becoming its own genre. So now you've got target archers,
3D
hunters, 3D archers, FIDA USAT archers, and now you've got TAC archers.
Yeah.
And they have their own way of doing things. And it's awesome because I had a manufacturer's national account manager there from Elite, Paul Gio. And Paul looked right at me and Blake and said, this is the future.
Yeah.
I mean, he's seen that event with the vendors there and everything and said, this is where it's at right now.
Well, I mean, you brought up OPA. That's essentially what they do. So that Bow Fest that they hold the OPA in conjunction with is, I mean,
huge.
It's very similar to Attack. It's a fun shoot for most people.
Right.
And they have a bunch of different courses. They have like a all African game course. They have an all North American big game course. But it's set up almost exactly like
and
Attack,
then they
with
mix
different
in
ones, and then they have the pros shooting the competitive stuff on the side on a totally separate course.
That's awesome.
As kind of a spectator event essentially on Saturday evening.
And for those of you real quick that don't know, the OPA is a marked 3D course. So it's a 3D tournament with an orange 12 ring and a pink 14 ring, correct? And you've got to call your shots.
Yeah. So you just have to call a 14.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
so it's a unique tournament format in that regard. It's also, what's your max yardage? 100?
Yeah.
100 yards. So you're going to get out there and shoot your bow and shoot it long. So it's a different format. I think it's going to be, if I had to build one, I'd build one very similar to it. What's kind of cool too, you guys shot 20 targets in 2 hours?
Maybe. Yeah. Shooting five targets at a time.
Yeah. 5 targets at a hub.
Shoot a 20 target 3D course in about an hour and a half, 2
hours.
hours.
Oh, that's pretty.
Nothing wrong with that. That's for sure.
That was fast.
So is this guy ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and sign on with our first guest for the year in our comeback show. And it is none other than, let's see if this loads before we make an announcement.
We're waiting.
You should have did this before, Bonehead. Oh, no. The screen just went dark. Let's get back up.
At least it's Jason working on the computer instead of you.
No kidding. I am totally technologically illiterate.
Scott can't even figure out how to change the background on his laptop.
I think I saw him earlier coming out here with a chisel, a piece of stone.
He was just going to draw on it.
Exactly. Here he is.
It's working.
Exactly. We got him on?
It's working.
Oh, there we go.
He is.
Is this on? Are we recording?
We are recording. So
I ruined everybody's podcast by saying that right away.
There you go. So, folks, just to let you know, we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself. We are excited to have him, Mr. George Ryals. George, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, George, it's telling me here that I need to ask you for permission to record this.
You have my permission.
If it was only that easy.
Right.
Jason,
let's see. Let's see here. More chat. Make co-host. There we go. Let's see. Crap, I can't see.
George is my age, and he knows how to do this stuff. This is scary.
There we go. Got it. How about now?
Got it.
Wow.
Awesome. We're
Look
on.
at us
I'm going to
go.
push this back so you can see the guys.
Look at us go.
So you see the monster right there?
Yep, I see him in the edge.
That's Bridger.
There's another. Is that Bridger? Lean in here again, Bridger. I ain't even. Yeah, now I see Bridger. Okay.
Yeah. He's the ugly guy.
I'm off on the edge.
I didn't see that as him, when he first leaned in there.
Well, I'm going to roll over all these extension cords and we're going to go to black here in a second.
Yeah.
So give me a moment.
That's better.
So we're in a new showroom today.
Yeah. We had to
New
go
showroom.
rent a place, kind of.
So welcome to the show.
I see your rig. Your rig looks really cool.
Thank you.
I got one of those too. You got any sweet music and anything set up on that yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He's even got sound effects.
Oh, nice.
Like what do you do when somebody asks for a Hoyt bow?
There we go. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, we're sitting here ranting for a little while, talking about the state of the archery union, how things are.
It's crazy.
Taking forever to get
it's
here.
In a fit state at the moment.
It's funny you say that, George. I was going to ask you maybe just to jump right in. I've been asking a lot of manufacturers, the reps and stuff, because of how we're going to buy in the coming 6 months. Do you think this is sustainable, or do you think everyone is talking about a first quarter of next year pause that's going to slow down?
Well, it's hard to say. I have very little money here in my little shop here, so I buy a little bit different. The rep comes in and he has this big placing order, and we're going to take all of your money in October and you're not going to sell it until next October. And I go, I don't have that kind of money. So tell you what, I'll just order as I need to order, and I will nickel and dime and kick the can down the road as far as I can. Because COVID was pretty tough on us because our real income is recreational archery, and that pretty much put an end to it,
Mm-hmm.
And I was easily paying myself and paying the bills and kind of keeping it rolling with just classes and lessons and seminars and, all of that, and was doing great. 2019, best year ever. And then COVID came and it went to dead flat zero and just like instant second. No chance to prepare or get ready or anything. So, so I really dislike how pro shops have to order equipment because they hold cash.
Oh yeah.
For 6-8 months and on the promise that it will sell. And sometimes the manufacturers do a really good job of advertising and pushing customers into your door, and sometimes they don't.
Absolutely.
So I always lost money, on the big buy, beforehand. So these last couple of years, I've only had enough. It's like, look, I'm going to get one, like Hoyt does this preview pack,
Correct.
Like one of every bow. So just send me one of those, because invariably a guy comes into my store and he goes, this is great, but I want it in black. And if I have it in black, he goes, yeah, but I want it in Kuiu camo.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I end up being like a showroom for sales. And then I order. Well, this year that model has really, caught me around the neck, because now it's 12, 18 week lead time. And by the time these guys, if they buy a bow today, they're not going to get it before the new bows come out.
Correct.
Right.
They're going to cancel the order because they want the new whiz bang, whatever comes out. And then I'm screwed.
Yeah. We got lucky. We are one of the larger Hoyt dealers in Texas. We actually ordered 70 bows out of Jump Street in November. Just took a leap of faith. And
do you still have them?
We
sold
have some. Yeah, we've sold almost every one of them. Yeah, literally.
Well, good, because y'all are like selling them through. I know there's shops out there that'll sell 100 bows in a week, but that's not me.
Yeah,
that's definitely not me.
No, it's definitely unprecedented times when it comes to that, and we're trying to play that game now of, do we order this summer? Because typically we won't get them maybe until December if everything stays the same, and we can't afford that with a new bow rollout. And it's going to be a game of guessing this spring, this fall, and whether we could hit it right or not.
Looking at all the bow companies, Matthews, Matthews is new. They're only 30 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Hoyt, they've been in it for like 100, right? And I know the 9-month product cycle is really tough, and it's hard to get your hands around it. But I would think that as narrow as the product lines are in many bow companies, especially, all of them are pretty much, here are the 8 components to what makes up our product. And then here are the 27 different variations that you can come about with these 8 different components. Right. Kind of like Taco Bell, they got 5 ingredients and 67
they just stack
different
them all in a different order.
Right. You stack it in a different order and it's new. So I would think that they could pull, say an Apple and look at this brand new whiz bang product. It's magical and it's wonderful. And you can order it starting Friday, right? And they ship. Because if you've been in business for 100 years, you know how many pink bows that you're going to sell if that's the new color.
I have said it I came out of the supply chain world in the aerospace market. And
there we go.
And as an engineer, it blew my mind when I get into archery as a retailer about how poor the supply chain management is in the industry. I would literally fire every single one in every manufacturer. They all need a new job because they're, to your point, it's 100 years. I was talking to one site manufacturer the other day. They haven't changed their site in literally 10 years. And I said, you should have a plethora of inventory sit on your shelf. If you have you're not going to make any changes, you're going to stay with your product line where it is, you should have a multitude of inventory. Instead, it's 22 weeks right now. It's unbelievable.
22 weeks. They call it just-in-time manufacturing, but it's just a half a year late. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's just in time for them to get their buck, and then it's hard.
They don't realize. That company literally could be. I could literally go in and sign a cost savings guarantee tomorrow with that company if they let me take over just the operational control of forecasting and manufacturing and grow them 3 times as big as they are today. At the
you are hired.
Yeah. Literally, I do it tomorrow. It's because it's simple. Yeah. It's math. It's simple math. And
all right. All of you industry leaders out there that managed to see this,
there you go.
Right there. I want to be able to order a bow and tell the customer it'll be here next week.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, we talked about Hoyt a lot because they're one of the hottest bows in the market today. They are unprecedented in my opinion, at least in our industry, our area. And, releasing in January in a COVID year, I think was a mistake. I think they're sowing what they reaped at that point in time. And you look at Elite's one of our better sellers, believe it or not. And they back in November released, October, and they're sitting so pretty right now. 6 weeks to get a bow. That's one of the best in the industry.
That's still terrible.
Not good. No.
Yes. 6 weeks is still terrible. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
Yeah.
It's 14 days, including shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That should be the industry norm. And then if it's 4 weeks, it should be like, oh my God, I am so sorry. But purple was way more popular than we anticipated.
Right.
It's going to be 5 more days than what we normally take to get it to you.
Preach. Yeah, preach. You're so right.
Here's a free hat and a couple shirts, just to assuage, your pain of having to wait on this bow.
Absolutely. That'd be
great.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts.
Well, and it's like you said. So, what do you think? Do you think it's going to slow down? Do you think it's going to sustain itself?
Well, currently, right now, I have a raft of cancellations because we have a gas shortage.
So is that affecting you guys?
Yeah, huge. Literally, Atlanta last night was out of gas.
Atlanta, the city, was out of gas.
The metro area, 8 million people are out of gas.
Unbelievable.
And I found a gas station that was just right down the road from my house, and I pulled in, and I thought, they don't have bags over these pumps over here. So I went, and I realized that in Atlanta, people don't realize that ethanol-free gas is okay to put in their car. So I called my wife, and we actually got our cars filled up because I was having to choose. Like, my kids are on the other side of town. They're, 50 minutes away. And it's like, God, am I going to go over there and get them and pick them up and drive them home and hook up the boat, maybe go fishing or something?
Yeah.
I don't know if I got enough gas to do that. And I don't know when we're going to get more.
Right.
Luckily it came on last night. So, maybe another week it'll be back to normal. But when it comes to something like, people are still out of work. I mean, we're still at what, 8%?
Yeah, I heard. Yep, in between 6 and 8.
Yeah, one thing that is helping is that people are working from home.
Yep.
They're not commuting as much, and it's pretty easy to stand up and walk out in the backyard and shoot your bow when you're in between calls, and we've seen an increase in, archery purchases and people buying a new bow or whatever, because they're staying close to home and they're working from home, and they're actually able to come. The hours that we see busyness in the shop has changed.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the day now instead of the last 2 hours that we're open.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're almost the same exact way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what we've seen a big increase in, and you've probably seen the same thing, at least in Texas, there is a whole new wave of children now because of the COVID crisis homeschooling.
Right.
And because they're homeschooling, they've only got about 3 hours of schoolwork a day. And that's what, I get these moms that come in and they're always asking that question. What did my kid do for 8 hours a day in class? Because they're done in 3 hours.
Yeah, it's jail.
And, yeah, exactly.
They're sitting around waiting on the next thing to happen.
And it's awesome though, because now the parents are like, hey, the traditional baseball, basketball, football sports are somewhat antiquated now because some of the kids aren't in classroom, and they are looking to archery, as an out of school activity to take up some time that they normally are in school. And we're seeing an influx of them in our shop in the afternoons, to your point.
Right. And being able to gather, speaking from an archery coach that likes to build teams of, juniors, those homeschool kids, they're solid gold.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got a work ethic to get it done by themselves. That's one thing that's for sure. You don't have to beg them to practice.
Yep.
They're available, at off hours for practice and whatever in the middle of the day when the shop's not busy.
Yep.
So they have a different level of access to coaching and range time and, all that stuff. And those kids kind of become the range rats that are just sort of hanging around in here.
Yeah.
And being able to glancingly coach them all day long. Don't forget about that thing, don't forget about your feet, fix your feet, don't forget about, and the next thing you know, these kids have advanced like massively.
Yeah.
And the kids that are in regular public school, they get to go to archery 1 day a week, and then they have all this homework that they have to do afterwards. I don't get access to them that much.
No.
So their development is much slower, and it's harder for them to catch hold and start hitting podiums and things like that because they just can't invest as much time into it. So
what's even cooler too,
homeschool is awesome.
Oh, and those same kids also, and what we love about it too, they get to travel to tournaments.
Yes.
That's what's awesome. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 homeschool kids now shooting at a very high level that shoot all over the country. I mean, so they've got the parental backing, which is huge, the time, and they can do their schoolwork on the road, and not miss class, we call it.
Right. Because you got to leave now with the schedule with USA Archery. You got to be there Wednesday or Thursday just to do the event,
Yeah.
So kids that have real school, I don't want to say real school, but kids that have organized jail, they have to be there through Friday.
Hey man, you just do what I did when I was in high school and just, miss half a year.
Exactly.
Yeah, sell your books, go pro. That's what I tell all the kids.
Yeah.
Worked out for me.
So, what's funny? I'm glad we're on this subject because I wanted to pick your brain. So we actually are building some really, really high level shooters where we are with our team. And, how are you combating that teenage life, that teenage years of that, get their driver's license, they start chasing boys and girls, and the archery takes a back seat? It's funny because I've coached a couple of kids that are really good archers, shoot at a national level and compete very highly. But I've coaching them since they were probably 14. I want to say 12 to 14. Mm-hmm. Man, 12 to 14, they're on fire. I'm lighting the world up, man. I want to be the next Connor Sears. I want to be the next, Levi Morgan. This is what their goal in their life is. And then I watch them degrade as they approach that 16, 17 and they get their license. Then you start losing them to friends. You start losing them to boyfriends and girlfriends, to the point that I have found as a coach, I want things for them more than they want them themselves. And it's let me down.
That's the toughest part about being an archery coach for juniors or for anybody for that matter, is the discovery that you can't want it bad enough for somebody else.
Yep.
I've seen so many hyper talented individuals the world is at their feet, but they just want to go hang out and do hood rat stuff with their hood rat friends. Right.
Exactly.
And I lose a few that way. And I lose a few due to just pressure also, because when they get to be 16, 17, they start getting that, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to study when you're in college? How many colleges have you applied to? Right. How are you going to shoot archery when you're in college? How are you even going to pass college? How are you going to move away from home, having never been away from home? How are you even going to survive and manage to shoot your bow? And here's where the pressure comes in. And everyone has been telling them, you're going to be the next Connor Sears. You're going to be the next Levi Morgan. You're going to be the next Jesse. If you just keep it up, you're going to be the next massive shooter out there. And we're all wanting this for you.
Correct.
Well, when all that pressure comes together in their last year of high school, looking into college, they just, during that stage of throwing away childish things, right? They throw away archery because that's the easiest thing to let go of to relieve the pressure, right? So I changed the narrative. It's like, look, man, you're going to be awesome and you can have anything that you want as long as you don't let it rust. But here's the deal. You got to go to school. Right. So you're not going to be a superhero while you're in school. You can't be a superhero. However, you should pick the 2 or 3 best events that you just love to go to and just keep yourself adequately prepared for just those. Let's say you're going to do Vegas, Reading, and one cup event like Arizona Cup or Gator Cup or, something like that. And just keep yourself prepared for those. You don't have to shoot 30 shoots a year. You don't have to keep trying to be Jesse because you got to do school.
Right.
Because take a look at me. You're not going to get rich shooting archery. So you need to have that background, ready for you so that if you do become the next Levi, if you're the 0.001% that actually are able to leverage your passion for archery into a viable business that makes you money. If you're that guy, you're good to go. But if you're not that guy, like almost everybody else, you're probably going to have to balance a real job or at least have some sort of business acumen in place in order to save yourself and still be able to compete in archery.
Gotcha.
So you got to go to school. You got to learn trade. You got to do something. So when I change the narrative from you're going to be the next Jesse and everyone's counting on you to don't be a superhero, but don't let it go either. Don't let it rush. Shoot the ones, stay relevant, shoot the ones that are your absolute favorite, and then just buckle down on that schoolwork. And then tell them, I promise that once that first year of school is over, it's going to feel much easier.
Right.
So I caution them not to let go of it right away. Just diminish. Just hit the big ones. 1 big one, 3 big ones, whatever you manage. And then when you're in your sophomore, junior, senior year and things become easy and you got the ropes down and then you want to start competing, you don't have to build it back up because you let it rust.
Gotcha.
You'll still have it. Right.
Right.
And now with enough kids that have gone through the program, I can say, this is how he did it. And this is how he did it. This is how he's doing it right now. And now there's a few colleges. There's 3 or 4 Hornets going to school for free.
Right. Right.
Because they were able to leverage their history in archery to a school that archery is a big deal to the school, like University of Cumberland's, U Pike, and, some of those schools. They're paying them to shoot. They pay their entry fees. They make sure they have equipment. They pay their room and board. They're paying for their tuition. And they're going to school for nothing, all because they learned how to shoot a bow when they were.
Yeah. No, that's actually smart. That's actually wise advice, because it's been something wearing on me, because we've got some talented individuals that are not leveraging that. And I've been going about it opposite. I've been kind of being the taskmaster, just driving them.
No,
and,
you gotta loosen up, because the amount of pressure, I barely remember what that felt like, because it was 100 years ago. But I began to feel it again as I saw each new generation of juniors turn 16 or 17. And I started seeing it. I started losing some of them. And then I started changing, the message so that they didn't feel pressure to please me. That they got enough pressure to deal with school and family, and getting straight A's, and how these tiger moms are out there with these kids in their archery. Just imagine what they are about their schoolwork.
Right. No, you're right.
I try to be low pressure, man. It's like, we're going to Vegas, we're going to Reading, we're going to Nîmes, we're going to all these big shoots. Pick one and just jump in. I got you. If you have to pay school all by yourself, and you just don't have the money, most of the time the other guys on the team will throw in a little extra money to cover their rental car fee or their housing cost or something, just so that they can go, because they want them to be there.
Right.
It's like, we can't go there without Colby.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's all throw in an extra $25 each, and then Colby can go.
Right. No,
they do that, no problem.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because archery is once you learn it and you shoot at that level, you don't typically lose it, but to your point, you get rusty.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to knock that rust off? And heck, if I could just keep them focused on 1 or 2 events a year and give them 30 days to prepare for that event, they're probably going to be pretty effective and shoot pretty well. And instead of shooting the insane schedule that we ask them to do, of course.
Yeah. And it's way less pressure. They're not going there to win it. They're not going there to be a superhero, but they're supporting their friends who are there to win it. Right. And they're staying relevant so that they don't rust around the edges. So when they can come back full on, they're ready.
Yeah. Gotcha. Some of the things that in sport, at least, growing up, because you and I are I'm 52. I mean, how old, George, are you?
I'll be 50 in August,
okay,
and
so
I'm not going easily into that.
You are.
I know I look insanely fresh for my age.
Awful sexy. But no, kids these days are so different than when I think you and I were growing up. We had more singular focus because we didn't have this thing, social media running our life. And I think that's wise advice, because it's the kids, they're not like Bridger. Even Bridger, I know you were driven, singular focused.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I had full support from my parents and everything, but still, I went the opposite way. Like, I dove into archery head first after high school instead of doing the college side of it. So, but I also traveled a lot. So like I experienced a lot traveling to all the World Cups, a lot of the World Championships I went to overseas, all of that stuff. Not that equates to a college degree by any means, but just in life experience, I have a little bit more than other people my age.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just went about it a different way, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, for me, I was more self-driven. Like, I was one of the few people that wanted to do it outside of high school and everything like that, So
yeah, that was it.
When I was growing up, every decision that I made was leveled against, if I make this decision and move forward with this, am I still going to be able to go to the shoots?
Yep. 100%.
And everything that I did was, if I do this, is it going to open more opportunity? And I got lucky, just kicking the can down the road and landing with the right people, and getting that good job with a good company, who cared about what it was I was doing as much as I did. So not everybody gets to do that. But if in the decision-making process, a lot of kids, I tell them this, while you're making decisions about school, balance your decisions against what your passion is. So if your passion is going to the events and maintaining, a presence everywhere, when you order your classes and you see what day that they're on, and, rather than making all of your college decisions and arrangements and then trying to fit archery into it, maybe look at your archery schedule and see if it's possible to take that class on Tuesday instead of Friday.
So you can travel. Yeah.
Right. So you can have that Friday, and there's a few that have figured it out. And then I'll say, Okay, you're going to school next year. Okay, call Tyler. And Tyler will tell you how he managed to organize his classes so that he could still get to the shoots and get straight A's.
Right. So do you think that one thing I wanted to ask you about peaks and valleys of career? Archery, I think, is one of the sports that I think has that, where you go up and down, peaks and valleys when you're at the top of your game. And I've always said that as an athlete, you want to take advantage of those times where you are shooting your best. Go and exploit the field as much as possible to podium as much as you can. Because in this industry, it's all about, we have long memories. We always remember when Tim was one of the best in the business, in Gillingham, and he went through that lull, and now he's back at the top of the game in the senior side of things. And those peaks and valleys, I think, make or break careers. And I see some of these young people like Bridger. He took advantage of being at the peak when he was, 5 years ago on top of his game and just cleaned house. And, and I know those valleys are hard to work through, maintain that sponsorship, maintain those relationships in the industry in the hopes that you come back up and you're in the game at the right time. Do you ever think about that, or how do you talk through the kids with that? I mean, because that's got to be, I think, part of that decision-making process with those guys.
I'm constantly aware of that. And, growing up in the archery industry myself, I've pretty much participated in archery in every facet that's available at some point or another during my lifespan. Mm-hmm. But the major undertone for anyone who wants to maintain themselves and maintain relevance and make money and, do that sort of thing in archery is to kind of diversify what you're doing within the industry. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. But also being aware of what your actual contribution to the industry is, right? And people may not notice right away what you contribute, but if you are consistently contributing either through education, marketing, YouTube, Instagram, design, winning archery events. Mm-hmm. There's a bazillion different directions that you can go. But for my career, and this is how I advise the kids, is that when you get ready to do this, you can't just do it on winnings alone, because there's 50 guys at the event and any one of them can win it at any time. Oh, yeah. Right? Right. And it can only be one winner, right? So if you are also contributing to the industry, managing a pro shop, teaching classes, if you're giving seminars out on the road, if you're designing in the background for archery companies and handing them products, which they put out into the universe, that sort of thing. If you're doing those things in the background, when you're not winning as much, your level of contribution is still high enough to make you valuable to sponsors. Right. So you don't lose your dough. Right. Yep. If you have a losing season, they're like, we're not going to let you go because you're selling just as many bows for us now, not winning as you did when you were winning. Correct. Right. Yeah. And the biggest thing is how can you contribute? And we've had like big conversations with some of the kids. Chris B was one of them. We're sitting around the table and he's like, how can I leverage this into a business? How can I contribute? And I was like, well, your talent is in your videos, and what you're doing right now is what I think you should do because you have a passion for it. It's working for you. You have a good persona that people enjoy. And this is when we were doing silly stuff like, archery stereotypes and making silly videos and stuff and, doing, haters will say it's fake kind of things. Right. Right. And he got hot and heavy into the hunting and, things like that. But that day at that table, we had this conversation about, well, juniors are underserved. So why don't you come up with a podcast or a video series or something that's just for juniors that talk about how you guys participate in archery? There's 4 or 5 of them sitting around the table, and they started this thing called Junior Pro Talk. Yeah. So they did some podcasts, they did some video things, that sort of stuff. And juniors got to it because they gave a real world view of what it feels like to travel, at the events, how to register for the events and what they do and what happens when they don't win and, all of that, because they talked about it while they were in the moment at the events. Right. Well, Chris B has grown up and he's got a huge channel. He's bazillion subscribers and, doing the whole thing. And it's working great for him. He's making good money from sponsors, making good money from YouTube. And he's too old for Junior Pro Talk anymore. So he passed it over to one of the young kids that was like, how do I get involved? How do I start? He handed him the keys over to all the websites and the podcasting and, all that. So here's the stuff. You just take off and keep going. And they take off and keep going, right? Yeah. But it's finding how can you contribute to the industry at your level. And when you're consistently contributing to the industry, whether if you're winning or not, they recognize you as someone who's a lifer in the business or someone who is there to consistently contribute.
Right.
And you'll still maintain sponsors and, you won't have any trouble, moving inside the archery world.
Yeah, that's great advice. Absolutely amazing advice, because it's got to start taking some of that to heart. Just quit being a slave driver.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
It'll open up your schedule a little bit more.
Yeah, no kidding.
In the end, archery is an at-will thing, dude. So they do it because they love it. Mm-hmm. Their mom stands over their shoulder and slave drives them through homework, and they slave drive them to clean their room, and they're trying to make decent humans out of them. But you can use archery as a tool to test them in a safe way,
right?
But to test them against real world pressure and anxiety and performance and, all of that. All the while it being something fun that they're passionate about.
Right. I think you just said the key word, fun. I think it's the one thing that we start to lose when we start shooting at that level is the fun. Archery becomes a job. I wrestled in college and it was a job for me. I always told parents that when you get out of high school, you got to love your sport in high school. You have to live it and love it in college. And then it's got to be a passion to do it past that professionally. Because it's not for everybody. It turns into work. I mean,
you got the little 7-year-old in there shooting the little wooden recurve, and Dad's like, "Oh no, hold it like this." It was a dad. Go over there and sit down.
Exactly. We do the same thing.
The mission here is for him to fall in love with it.
Yeah, fling arrows.
So we're going to keep going. We're going to let him fall in love with it. So then, when he says, "I want to be the best in the world" at 15, and the hard work starts happening, he'll gladly engage in that because he loves it so much. There's no way he's going to stop.
Exactly. No,
Bridger and I have been punched in the teeth plenty of times, and we're coming back. We don't even think about not coming back.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Believe me.
It's just what we love to do, so we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hell, archery sometimes feels like you get punched in the teeth more often than you don't.
Yeah, archery happens. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. I remember when I became a senior shooter 2 years ago, I loved it. I was the youngest old guy, and I went in and started shooting really well in the ASA ranks. And I thought, wow, this is cool. But I see better.
Shooting ASA as a senior. There's no way. They have to judge distance. There's no way I'm doing that.
Well, there's a senior known class.
There's a senior known. That's what I shoot.
I didn't think they had a senior known.
Come join the club.
Gillingham wasn't telling the truth.
Well,
it's not a pro class.
It's not a pro, but it's pretty close.
Okay.
You can shoot it. You can shoot it as a pro because
it's
the highest. It's the highest known division for that. Kind of like the women. Now the women's K50, what it was for the K45 last year.
So that does exist. Then
because I'm like you, I'm not. That's
what Scott shoots.
That's what I shoot. I don't mess with the unknown. I quit judging targets a long time ago.
Yeah, I'll have to go try that because Brady Hempins and those kids out there are just embarrassing me out there on 3D. I can't even see good enough to know what I'm shooting at.
Heck no.
It's like, what is that? They said it's a Wolverine. Are you sure?
It looks dark.
It's just a dark blob down there.
Exactly. No doubt.
The smallest bear I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, George, one of the things we wanted to do, and I hope you're okay with this, I thought it would be fun, because I know you are extremely opinionated like I am, to talk about the archery like stereotypes, the stuff that no one wants to talk about.
Y'all
trying to get me in trouble now.
Hell yeah, that's why I want to do it.
I see what's up.
How much tuning is too much tuning?
Yeah, no kidding.
How many veins can I put on my arrow?
Yeah.
How much FOC is too much FOC?
Yeah.
So like, I wanted to seriously just one, and I thought, maybe just a one-word answer, but that's no fun. Because I watched one of your videos about one thing that drives me absolutely bananas. Because the internet, as beautiful as it is for our sport, Bridger and I can tell you we have a a rule. If you become a regular customer of ours and you come to us for advice as professionals on your equipment and your shooting, our number one rule is you stay off the internet. I mean, period.
Yeah. Just don't.
Yeah, just don't. And we still get bombarded every day with our customer base that comes in. They're internet keyboard warriors. They know everything. And we at that point, we smile and nod and ask them, what would you like us to do to fix your bow?
Yeah.
And we let them direct it. I'm okay with that.
That'll be $69.95.
Exactly. But yeah, just, some of the things that are out there that, as an old school, I've been in this industry like you since I was 8, shot at all levels. I've been around shops my entire life. I was a shop brat growing up. So I've kind of seen it all like you. Right. But, some of the things and I'm just going to say one word and you may like it. I'm not going to sit there and disagree with you. I have my own opinion on a lot of things, but arrow clocking is a good one. I mean,
that's total. I use another word that I won't use.
Horse.
Horse, right?
Exactly.
Well, see, here's the thing is, I've studied this, right? And I've worked with some really smart people on a lot of these kind of, anomalies that happen within archery. And can you find out which way your arrow naturally rotates out of the bow? Yes. Can you fletch your arrows in which it goes with the flow, with the natural rotation? Yes, you can do that too. Does it matter enough where your arrow hits to go through that trouble, to waste the time,
right,
to go through this step, right, and not spend it on training? Right. Actual working on
I love this,
right?
Exactly.
So waste that time clocking your arrows when you could have been working on your shot execution, which is like 80% of it, right?
Yeah.
Is it necessary? And it's really not.
I've a good buddy's saying for that is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
That's an excellent way to put that. And in this case, the juice is not worth the squeeze, right? No. And in most people, of a mediocre, skill level, they're not going to be able to tune themselves to advanced.
Well, I have a saying I call it, just shoot your bow. That's what I want to make a shirt, a t-shirt
that's
for
one
that.
of my standard things. Yeah. Just shoot your bow. Isn't that right, Jason?
Shoot your damn bow.
Cut out all that crap. Just shoot your damn bow. What are you shooting at, Jason? Shoot your bow.
Most people, I don't think, and even Bridger, I don't know if you can. I mean, you get to a certain level, I don't think they can outshoot that type of technology. I mean, is it going to matter? Is it going to make their groups better? Can they outshoot it in today's environment at their skill level? There's no way. Now, they'll argue, I'm trying to find an advantage to help make me better, but they can't get past the fact that, as a retailer, I have to be very cautious with this because I get angry with some customers when I want to tell them, just shoot your damn bow, because they want to buy points. It's what keeps me in business, honestly. And I have to temper that. Well,
I tell people straight. It was like, I would love to take your money for that. But that is not gonna, you're not gonna see a dramatic improvement. Right. I won't see a dramatic improvement in buying that new stabilizer over the one that you got.
Correct.
Scott uses me as a scapegoat all the time. He says that dude was ranked. He was ranked 4th on the planet for guys that shoot carbon sticks with bows and at pieces of paper, and he doesn't do that. He never did that.
I use them all the time because we got some guys, we have customers that will actually cut glue to make sure their arrows were within a half grain of each other.
Total waste of time.
You can't, and I've literally pulled hairs out of my head and lay them on the grain scale to show them how much of that matters. And when you kind of put it in that perspective, they look at it and go, oh, wow, because then they see how much it weighs versus what it's going to do. And they think 5 grains is the end of the earth,
Yeah. If we were shooting 90 meters, you might be able to tell the difference between a 2 or 3 grain difference in your arrows. But at 50 meters or shooting 3D, you're not, you can spend your time better.
You can't aim that good. That's what I tell guys all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because way better.
Yeah. We've been hearing a lot about arrow clocking. Somebody had to come out lately with a video series on it or something talking about it. And we've got a couple.
I have to do a video about it now.
Oh, it makes me crazy.
I have an experiment that I did here in the shop where I did the arrow clocking, right? And it rotated this way. Then I took the string off and flipped it over, and it rotated the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
and I took the servings off the top and the bottom of the string, and it rotated the same way, and it's like, it doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So here's another one. This is a polarizing one, and we may disagree on this one. What about bare shaft tuning?
So here's the thing. If you have a recurve bow with a finger release, bare shaft tuning is awesome.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Because it will actually tell you, is your cushion plunger too stiff? Is it extended too far? That sort of thing.
Right.
A compound bow release, if you get a bare shaft to fly 50 meters and hit in the center of the bullseye, right? It says, yes, the arrow is flying straight out of the bow. It doesn't say that your bow is set up to be as accurately as possible in the face of your mistakes. Because here's how I describe it. You have a bow that's perfectly balanced on a needle. If you touch it anywhere, it will readily move in that direction. But if you bias the weight of a bow to one direction and touch it, it tends to maintain itself.
Correct.
So if you have a bare shaft that flies at 50 meters and hits X's with a perfect shot, and then just touch a little bit of skin to the string with the next shot, and the bare shaft goes haywire. Right. With fletchings, it'll hit that far to the left at 50 meters. Right. So getting a bare shaft tune for me is just as useful as getting a clean hole through the paper. And it says, yes, you're ready to begin group tuning. So when I had this discussion with Gillingham just the other day, I loved anytime I'm near him, I'll wind him up about something. Yeah. Just because
that's easy.
You can have a 3-hour conversation arguing about bow tuning, and I love it.
Yeah.
Every time I always wish that I had a microphone, going, okay, and what do you think about that?
Right.
So, cause it's great. But I started going through and I said, when you got your bare shaft, I went through that same thing I just told you. And he was like going, that actually makes sense. I was like, yeah. I said, now when I go outside and do long range group tuning, and I'm essentially shooting the bow at a line, either horizontally or vertical, making micro adjustments to see if it improves my overall 6 or 12 arrow groups. And when I make that adjustment, I see a slight improvement. Then I make another adjustment and it slightly improves again. Then I make another and it slightly improves again. And I'll continue. And once I've gone too far, it'll begin to degrade again.
Correct.
So I can go back to that setting that gave me my absolute tightest horizontal, right? Then flip that line horizontal and then work on my knocking point till I get the absolute best vertical groupings. My bow is tuned in spite of my mistakes. It gives me the best groups. Usually when I come inside, the Hamsky rest and, an arrow that Archer's Advantage says is matched. Usually with a Hamsky rest, it tears a little bit high and a little bit left through the paper. I never fix that.
Nope.
Because my bow is proven scientifically through repetition that it is grouping as good as I can make it group.
Right.
So what that does is it puts a little bit of a bias in the tune, just like opening up the bar on your stabilizer, puts just a little bit of a bias. So when you do have a little drag or something, there's a tiny bit of direction imparted on the flight of the arrow that kind of covers for those little things, that tiny loss of pressure, that little touch of your beard on the string, those little things that just take your group from in the 10 to just barely out of the 10. Right. You're not going to go from 675 to 710.
Right.
But you might go from 695 to 705. Right. Just because you catch that many more lines.
Right.
Right. And for an advanced shooter who is in the 680s to 700, they're going to be able to shoot well enough to mark the difference between the two setups.
Right. Exactly.
Average shooters, your weekend duffers that are out there shooting 650s, they will see improvements, but they won't see a dramatic score increase.
Right.
They could have a bare shafted bow and they wouldn't see a dramatic score increase there either.
Right.
But if they spent 20 minutes working on their shot execution, they would see a dramatic change in their scores.
And I'm the same way. I'm a mechanical engineer. It's what I used to do for a living. And it drives me nuts because I get in these arguments with customers and actually people in general, because
I call it witchcraft tuning.
Yeah. You put vanes and they don't understand. This is like flying an airplane without wings. Can we do it? We can computerized control it to make it happen, but we're not going to do it. Yeah, exactly. And I always get a kick out of the fact they don't believe that when you put vanes or feathers on an arrow shaft, you are changing the dynamics of that arrow 1,000%. It's not even close to being a bear shaft.
Across the board, too.
Yeah.
And the stiffness and the whole bit.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I get customers who are shooting really good groups, and they'll get a video about bear shaft, and they'll go shoot a bear shaft and go, oh my gosh, I got to change everything because my bear shafts aren't hitting with my vanes. This is like, it's like the worst thing ever in the world. And they bring it to me. We need to fix this, Scott. And I'm like, wait a minute. You were shooting outstanding. Yeah, but my bow's not tuned right. How do you figure? Well, my bear shafts and my vanes aren't hitting the same.
I always ask the same thing. Do you hit where you're aiming?
Yeah.
And if it's a hunting bow, do your broadheads hit with your field points where you're aiming?
That's it.
If I get two of those,
that's the law.
If I get two yeses on those, that thing could be doing a front flip leaving the bow, and I'm not going to mess with it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I had one of the guys. I'm not going to say who it is. It sounds like Tyler Heritage, but anyway, he had just won Arizona Cup.
Oh gosh.
And shot his best match scores, all the way through, and some weather even. And then he points to his bow and he says, "Look at this with my spacers." And I was like, "Yeah, that looks a little weird." I said, "You just won that tournament with your best scores you've ever put down in matches. Are you sure you want to fix that?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Well, but it's a little bit messed up." I was like, "But are you sure? Are you sure you want to fix that?" And they're like, "Yeah, I said, Tyler, you won the tournament. Your bow's shooting perfect. You're laying down excellent scores. Just a few minutes ago, you finished shooting an excellent score. I wouldn't fix your winning right now."
Fix your winning.
Winning is pretty good. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of the people that I help and supervise, they go and they're like something crazy, like number one in the world, and they switch arrow companies.
Oh yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they do.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
Bottom line, if it's working, don't fix on it.
Don't fix on it. I'm going to use that one. Don't fix winning. That's a good one.
Don't fix your winning. Don't fix it.
Okay, so here's the big one. Nose buttons.
Okay, so here's the deal with nose buttons. Recurve bow. Nose buttons work great. Mm-hmm. It gives you a pretty good reference, right? Compound bows. Now, I've experimented with the difference with a target setup and with a hunting setup, right? If you have a hunting bow with a huge peep sight, a nose button will increase your consistency because that huge peep sight gives you a 1/4 inch of variation on your anchor, and you can still see through it and see your pins.
Gotcha.
But if you're using like an 1/8 inch peephole, gives you about all the available light that your eyeball can use in low light, right? Uh-huh. So that gives you like what, a 32nd of an inch variation, of head position, and still be able to see through it.
Right.
A nose button isn't anywhere near as accurate as a peep sight. So using a nose button and a peep sight, or a kisser button and a peep sight, is like belt and suspenders. They both hold your pants up really good, but one of them does a great job of it, right?
Right.
And so with a target setup, especially compound at multiple distances, a nose button won't help you because you can't even use the same anchor at 3 yards at Redding as you do at 80 yards or 101 yards. You can't even use the same contact with your face.
Right.
Your nose button will be a 1/4 inch away from your nose trying to see your pin through the peep sight.
Correct.
So I think it's depending on application. Target archery, not so much, but a big fat peephole on a hunting bow with some guy trying to here's another big pet peeve of mine, fit the housing to the peep. Just like ring them both together. Oh, I got you. Look, I saw your face. You know why?
Because I'm so excited that you were talking about
He's looking at me.
I've been hammering this for 20 years and nobody will listen to me. But
preach, brother.
Okay, I'm gonna go into that in a second. But unless you have a big old huge peep sight, a nose button's not going to do you that much good other than make $16 lighter.
Right.
You know, Josh Bomar laughs all the way to the bank with your money.
Yeah, 100%. Don't get me started. I'm going to save that one.
I just wrapped serving on my string.
I offer to tie in nose buttons now, tie them in with, because that's how we used to do it. We actually use knocking points where we tied them in because, we've used these for years ago. Yeah. Well, it's going to cost you $29.99 for me to tie that knot. Joking with them. But
they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Well, might as well leave it loose anyway. If you shoot 100, move it so that your nose can touch it while you're looking through your teeth.
So wait, I want you to talk about this peep alignment.
Okay, so here's the deal. With a compound bow, everybody says. I even saw John Dudley say this. When you pull your bow back, always touch your anchor first, and then look through the peep sight. Right. And they emphasize that the anchor must be exactly right here. Put the knuckle here, split your fingers on your jawbone. Anchor is absolutely critical, they say. My camera just died on me. Let me switch gears here. They say it's just absolutely critical to make that work. And I wholeheartedly disagree.
Agreed.
And here's why. Okay. So here's why. The peep sight runs the show. And like I said earlier, if you have a 364 peep sight hole, or even something that's just gigantic, like a 1/8 peep hole, right? That's gigantic for target archery, right? You have only like a 32nd of an inch variation on head position. So the peep sight runs the show. Mm-hmm. So you're not shooting at your scope housing, you're shooting at the target. So you set your body up for the shot, right? Then you're setting yourself up to be related to the target. So when you draw the bow back, put the glass on the target, and then bring the peep in front of your eyeball, you're relating everything to the middle of the target.
Correct.
And you make sure that the peep appears to be centered to the target, not the housing. The dot is in the middle of the housing. It's going to naturally center itself. And people overly emphasize that centering when you get into bright light. They want to use a huge peep sight because their eye is so small that they can't see the edges of the scope. So they use a big giant peep so they can see everything.
Right.
They're inhibiting their accuracy by using a giant peep.
Right.
The peep runs the show.
Right. So I have always said that your eye.
This camera here. Let's let this work again. All right, but carry on.
But no, we as humans, we have this natural ability to shoot and to rifle. I call it, meaning that our eye is going to gravitate to the brightest object in the center of any circular object, and regardless of whether you match that peep with your housing to make sure that alignment, your eye goes straight to center 9 out of 10 times. And how I proved this one day, one of my young students forgot to put his dot on his lens, and we were starting league. Yep. And I said, Cody, just shoot the damn thing. And he's like, no, there's no way, dude. I said, just shoot it. And I bet you he ended up shooting a 299 with nothing to reference other than him looking down the middle of the lens and staring at the X. He was framing, his housing around the actual dot down there at the Vegas target, and shot an amazing score. I did it and shot a 98 with it, and to prove my point. And then, because these people, as part of their shot process, I think they waste a lot of time and effort in getting that alignment perfect. And it takes them forever, and you can watch them do it, and they're already in the approaching fatigue. It's taking their shot process where it should be 8 to 10 seconds to 18 to 22 seconds, and they're moving all over the place, and they can't figure out why, because they've got all these points of reference they're trying to get right. And I've argued, and I actually took a guy the other day, and the option site. Have you ever seen the option site where it's got a
the little cat's eye thing in there?
And I took a guy at full draw, one of my staff shooters, because he was arguing he couldn't be accurate with it. And at the very top of the housing, he's like, Scott, I can't see anything. I can't hit anything. and then I took it and roll it right down the middle. All of a sudden it was perfect. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. You're way too reliant on this matching, and quit worrying about it, and get your target acquisition immediately and put your damn pin on it.
Yeah, put the pin on. Everything else will work.
It'll work. Yeah. And these guys, I tell you, I'm so glad to hear you talk about it, because it is one of my biggest pet peeves in the process of shooting of this peep alignment.
It drives me nuts, and people think I'm some kind of witch or something when I start telling them to quit circling their housing. I had the same deal with a kid. It was pouring down rain, and it was at Hornet Camp. We're all out shooting in the backyard, and he wiped his dot out of his lens. I was just keep shooting. Shot the highest score he's ever shot at 50 meters, and immediately came inside and put a dot in his lens. I was like, well, you fixed that. Fixed all that high score in there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I still ain't seen anybody show up to a tournament without a dot on their lens.
No, and I don't recommend it either.
No, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but he's talking about one of our customers. I'm not saying like Scott was giving me the side eye because you brought that up, but when I say reference your site, it's more just like make sure you can see your housing when you look through your peep. It's not necessarily like make sure the white line's around or your peep sight's around a white line or anything like that.
Let's think about that for a minute. Make sure that you can see the sight when you look through the peep. If you can see the dot on the target, you're seeing the sight when you look through the peep.
Well, I agree. But I also know that like for me, if I'm shooting and like I can't see the right side of my scope housing, but my dot's in the middle, I'm going to hit left.
Will you though?
No. Yes. I proved it with Keith Snell. Keith Snell couldn't believe it. I've only missed 3,000 points at a FIDA tournament for having my sight too far.
I would take your pen and put it just to the inside of your peephole and then shoot.
I had
as long as the peephole is small, it works.
We had one of our staff shooters, Keith Snell. He's a really good archer, and he didn't believe me. So I took all the serving off his peep, and I moved it 1/8 of an inch up. I said, shoot that target, and he did, and he X'd it. I moved it 1/8 of an inch down from center, shot the target, X'd it. He was in shock. He's like, you're not kidding. This doesn't matter. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter.
Well, if your anchor point's the same,
I will rifle that center of that peep. If you were staring at that X and referencing, this is the other thing we talk about a lot is do we look at the peep, the pin, or do we look at the target? I always get that all the time. And I'm an X-wing shooter. Absolutely. You got to see what you're aiming at. I tell them to look at the pin in your background vision while you're staring at the X and make the X somewhat disappear.
Yeah, I'm really going to blow it here. This is why. If you look at the target, the aiming component can be the subconscious thing that you're doing.
Boom.
So that you can consciously run your shot and shoot a good arrow.
Absolutely.
If you're looking at your dot, you have to consciously be watching where the dot is and making two comparisons to make sure that they come together. You run out of bandwidth to shoot your bow and you suck.
I think guys confuse bow forgiveness for that, and meaning that and how I explain it to my archers is that if you're staring at your pin or your dot and all of a sudden, your pin walks, it moves, there's no way we can stop it. And all of a sudden your shot breaks, boom, over here. Well, your arrow goes over there because that's what you're concentrating on. Mm-hmm. But when you're staring at the X or staring at the bonus 12 ring and your pin's moving and you're still staring at it, and all of a sudden your pin runs over here, but you're still staring there, our brains have an amazing ability to hit what we are looking at. Kind of like with wing shooting. When I'm wing shooting on clay targets, I would never look at the bead. I'm staring at that clay the whole time in flight and breaking the target while I'm looking at it. Right. And guys, I think, confuse that for forgiveness when it's reality, the proper way to shoot a bow.
So it looks like my camera has gone black again.
That's okay.
It keeps saying internal temp too high.
Yeah, it's the bane.
It's too hot, George.
It's the bane of the Sony
camera.
camera.
Pause real quick, George, and we'll pick up because we got to do a battery change anyways.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let me check my schedule here. I may have somebody coming up at 2.
Or we probably got to wrap up pretty quick too.
Yeah, so I got somebody coming up.
We've been open for 3 hours and
I know.
Yeah,
that's why I think Phil's
so let's just wrap it up. Let
him get this battery up real quick, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
We got to do a 2.0.
There you go.
So, anyways, I'm just glad to hear you talk about some of that, George. And I know we got to run because it's getting late. I know you have an appointment coming up. We'd love to do a 2.0 with you. I've still got a multitude of questions for you, and I know these guys might also. For sure. And, but we appreciate you coming on board with us today. Sharing some insight from you. Like I said, I think you're the best in the business, and I appreciate you coming on today. And good luck. I know you got a lot of stuff coming up with the para team, and gosh,
lots of busyness. Yeah, lots of busyness coming up here pretty soon.
Absolutely. Well, you take care.
Paddling in the ocean.
Exactly.
On the 2.0 though, I want to take at least 15 minutes. George, I want you to explain to Scott how to use VeinMaster Pro. Please.
Oh gosh.
Oh, should we do that? VeinMaster Pro lessons over Zoom.
So I'm an engineer.
It'll be like office hours with Alex Lindsay. Everyone get your VeinMaster Pros. Let's do this.
He won't touch it.
I'm a Bitsenberger guy because I've been using them for my entire life.
Yeah, it's easy to use because they haven't changed them in 30 years.
Exactly.
Well, probably longer than that now.
More than that.
About 40 years.
Oh, it's old. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
There you go. George, thanks again, man. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
George.
talking to you guys.
Take care.
All right, we'll see.
That was awesome. So let's wrap up our side too. But what's really cool is we get a chance to, gosh, he's got so much good stuff. I mean, good stuff. That's for sure. And he talks, he's, I don't know, he explains it in layman's terms, which I love. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. It's funny because we just had Philip walk in. Here's one of our owners. And what did he say?
It's just a stick in a string.
Dude, how complicated can it be?
It's not that complicated until you start adding wheels to it.
No. Well, even then, come on, dude. I mean, it's funny because we have these guys come in all the time. You guys know how this works, the bow hunters.
Mm-hmm.
You guys shoot that 4-inch circle, 60 arrows. Well, that's easy.
Easy. Go and do it.
Go do it, brother.
Go for it.
Because a bow hunter thinks that at 20 yards, he can hit a 4-inch circle all day long, never deviate. Not one time miss, and it's hilarious to watch it. Go try it.
Or you get the bow hunters that want to tune their bow like a target bow.
Yeah.
Your brain starts to do some weird shit when you make it do the same thing a million times in a row.
And when you know you're straight.
Yeah.
They'll usually shoot 20 or 30 like really good ones and be like, oh gosh, I haven't missed yet. And that's it. You were getting
that,
a 4.
or when you're, when they're posting up scores underneath your bail and you see the guy next to you and you're like, oh man, I have to shoot this to catch up.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're not going to do it now.
Yeah. We got to get George back on though, because I tell you, that's probably just the tip of the iceberg with that guy. I mean, he is I know, Bridget, you've been shooting around him your entire career.
For the most part, yeah. He's been around the block.
Yeah.
A few times.
Yeah, he's one of the...
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Yeah, he's the encyclopedia.
He might have designed the T-shirt.
Yeah, you joke. He is an encyclopedia. All right, man, it's been a long day. Folks, we appreciate it. That was going to be a long episode, but I hope you enjoy it. And we will catch you next week. I don't know what we got going on next week.
We'll figure it out the day before.
Or morning of.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Now, again, just give us your input. Give us your input. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know who you want to hear.
Yeah.
And we'll try and do it. So until next time.
All right.
Thanks, guys.